This episode of the Place to Be Podcast is dedicated to the memory of Mike Filthball McKenna.
Yeah, Frank here has got his own billiard room.
Yes, it's what do you call it, Kramer?
Billiard room.
No, not billiard, not the billiards. It was
billiards room.
Come on already. Come on, we call it the
place to be.
The place to be. Yes, the place to be.
Then I shall be there.
Now, it's time. Live and in living color.
The Grandy Man can.
Time to play the game!
Well, you always left me satisfied and smiling, so...
That's what she said.
Why do I want this? I want to make bank, bro. I want to get ass. I want to drive a Range Rover.
Place to be Nation, Scott Criscola and Justin Rosero. This is the Place to Be Podcast.
Very nice, Mr. Criscola.
Like, I can't understand a word he says. He mumbles. He sounds like he's on, 15 Ambien when he's on the show.
Oh, I'm sorry, Dennis.
And then they trash him and say he's a fucking pill-popping, pothead or whatever when he left. I don't know if it's his misshapen body or his shorts that are pulled up over his belly button, his stupid sandals. I don't know what it is. I don't know what the fuck the Department of Health is.
To do worse than Josh Richer. Good evening. I'm Scott Criscola. When you think of the words backyard wrestling, what do you think of? Well, most wrestling fans think of Mick Foley jumping off his garage onto a prone opponent, laying on 2 box spring mattresses, or some knuckleheads either setting themselves on fire or throwing themselves through a plate glass window. Most participants in backyard wrestling feel that it's all about hardcore stuntmen shocking the neighborhood by attempting to put themselves in the hospital. What about the characters that are in the promotions? Shouldn't they have just as much depth and emotions as the superstars of the WWE? What about the storylines and promos that set up epic backyard matches? Why do many ignore the sizzle that makes their characters and just focus on what turns out to be some nameless, faceless troglodyte in the hospital? Well, tonight, we're going to look back at one of backyard wrestling's most unique promotions. One where the in-ring work rate was not as flashy or dangerous as others, but clearly was the torchbearer for building great characters and working up hot storylines for their feuds, and in particular, the championship matches. However, like many promotions of the 1990s, egos and creative clashes may have led to its downfall. Tonight, the rise and fall of the WCF. And tonight, we have a cornucopia of experts to take us through what was probably about a 3-year run of peaks and valleys with this wonderful, fascinating Northeast wrestling promotion. Our first guest tonight, you would call probably the Vince McMahon of WCF. He was the brainchild, and the branches grew from him. I bring you JR, Justin Rosero. Justin, welcome to the show.
I got chills after that intro. I believe the promotion would have been the brainchild of me. I wasn't the brainchild of the promotion, but it's okay.
Your guests, or our other guests this evening, also gentlemen whose fine work and the men they took care of led to many great moments in the history of the WCF. First off, the guy who maybe was one of the most enigmatic, both in his booking and in the guys he took care of, and that is Mr. Josh Richer. Josh, welcome to the show.
Hello there, PICs, OG PICs, might I add.
And thirdly, a guy who came on the scene about midway through, but certainly his name is etched throughout the WCF lore later on down the line, and that is, of course, Mr. Andrew Flanagan. Andy, welcome to the show.
Thank you for that very kind intro. And Josh, I believe it's Peas I see.
Yes.
It would be Peas I see.
Okay, let's turn back the clock.
Yeah.
Let's go to early 1994. You were kind of putzing around, Justin, during some of the New England and Northeast promotions. What got into your mind to say, I want to start my own backyard promotion?
Well, the co-founder of Mollyseum Video and the WCF, my cousin Matt, and I always were just putting on random productions. We were recording anything we could. Josh was a big part of that as well. We were doing different like little comedic skits, and of course wrestling was always a major part of it. We would do like WWF based shows where we'd recreate a SummerSlam or something like that, and on the side, Matt and I had kind of began crafting all these characters for our own promotion where we were just like mess around in the basement wrestling, and we called it the WCF, the Wrestling Championship Federation. So a lot of the characters that carried over into what would become known as the modern WCF at the time was all kind of stemmed from that original promotion. A lot of the music and the backstories, and some didn't make the cut. But for a while, probably a good 3 or 4 or 5 months, it was just Matt and I, really crafting and honing these characters and building these feuds up. And then we decided to kind of take it mainstream. And a major inspiration was another local backyard promotion, the USWF with Travis Savage. Anyone from New England or Rhode Island specifically probably remembers him. He was all over the place on public access. And that was kind of what gave us the idea to go ahead and do it. So we decided to set up a ring in the backyard. My dad helped us the first time, surprisingly enough. And we decided to kick things off. And that's when, of course, we got Josh involved. So it was Matt, myself, Josh, and our friend Rich, who came in as the president, Richard Kimball. So that was pretty much the main focus. And what we did was we each decided to take an ownership stake in things, and we kind of all had a say in the booking and a say in signing of the talents. We all kind of had our own guys that we represented that starred in this promotion. So I like to think of each of us as having a piece of the pie, all being pretty much equal, kind of started by me and Matt, but Josh was in there as well, and Rich was kind of ancillary. And, we all had our own guys, and from there is where it really got going.
Now, what strengths did you have that maybe your cousin didn't? And what was his major participation in the early part of the promotion? Were you the creative? Was he the business side? How did you guys split up the responsibilities early on at the top?
We were definitely equal, and he was a main driving force in my what become really love for TV production. Eventually, it become a major of mine in college and everything else, and where I went into right after college. And he started a lot of that. He really showed me whether it was as simple as dubbing 2 wrestling tapes on a VCR or putting compilations of music together and editing music videos with using the video camera. And a lot of these productions we did, we had a video camera from Germany from like the mid 80s that my cousin had gotten us. We had 2 VCRs. One I think was like a top loading one. One set of wires and an old radio. So I mean that's pretty much where this all came from, and that's what you're looking at back in the early 90s. So Matt was a big technical driving force and creative. It was him and I'd say, but more him in the beginning, and then him and I were pretty much equal from day one with this. So I don't think in the early days I can say either of us had more of a role. It was all my friends that came in, and Matt got to know them through that. But other than that, all the creative side and the technical side was 50-50.
Now, Josh, how did you get started here? Where had you come from? Were you working with other promotions? How did you get started in here?
I was actually working on the amateur level at that point, really trying to compete in the Greco-Roman and freestyle types of wrestling that you would find, like the Olympics and stuff. And so when I actually met Justin, who happened to be my neighbor, and up until that point, somehow we had just missed each other. Just never realizing there was another...
Well, we had hung out when we were like
really,
3.
Yeah, like 3. But after that, it's like I never even realized there was another dude living across the street.
Yeah.
So once I started hanging out with him, and he actually got me watching wrestling more again, and then, kind of like, oh yeah, we've got all these characters, me and my cousin, and I was like, whoa, because when I say they had these characters and guys lined up, okay, they all on paper and
flashcards.
On flashcards, they had everything just like it was very mechanical.
That we stored in a leather satchel, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, and like all the music was also like coordinated like in conjunction with where they appeared in like the flat, like it was very, very. I was interested because they seemed to have it all down. You could simply like find the guy to do it, and then he could be the character.
Okay.
Personally.
So,
it's almost like a science.
well, of course. So, when you got started, how was it? One of your early venues, if you will, obviously, such as WWE would have the Garden, and Mid Atlantic would have Greensboro. You had this very kind of out of the way yet very impressive place called the Outdoor Lakeside Arena. How did that work out? That became your home base of operations?
Well, luckily through the family and generations passing down, my parents have a very large backyard, and we went out towards the back end of it where there was a lake or a pond. We called it a lake, and we decided to call it the lake. I think our friend Jim, who came in just in time for the first major event, WrestleFest. Jim Price became another. Early on, he was just a guy that was kind of hanging around and along for the ride, one of our buddies, and then he will, as we'll get to, he took a major role in the promotion. But I think he's the one who actually coined Lakeside Arena. And we wanted
Very
to.
original.
We were trying, right? Yeah, I know. We were trying to pretend it was the Providence Civic Center. That didn't last. So I think all over the first event we keep calling it that. But Lakeside Arena really took off, Outdoor Lakeside Arena, because then we'd have the Indoor Lakeside Arena during the winter months. So. But yeah, I thought it was a great venue. We had the shed there to do interviews and entrances, and we had it was also our own piece of real estate way back in the back of the yard. What did you think, Josh? Were you thought it was a good spot for the ring?
I thought it was great. Actually, I would say that the events that that particular location for the ring, because it would move around in the various different areas of Lakeside Arena. I think like the original location was probably looked the best out of all of them.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, you guys needed to. We'll talk about the actual superstars in just a moment. Let's talk about some of the other staff. Obviously, you needed referees. One of your most well-known referees, a gentleman by the name of Referee Rich. We'll get to him in a moment. This first show you did, obviously, you mentioned something called WrestleFest. Obviously, your big premiere show, your big, the big debut of what would be the modern-day WCF. But as I mentioned in the open, you guys were very, very good at building and promoting and getting ready. You were like the P.T. Barnums of backyard wrestling. Promotion. It was about pumping up and getting ready for the big show. So you did something called Road to WrestleFest. Kind of a I guess you could say almost like a modern-day Superstars or maybe even a Raw, if you will.
Well, it was actually meant to play off of like Road to WrestleMania, the WrestleMania March to WrestleMania they used to do back in the early 90s. I mean, don't forget this was taking place in mid-94. And that was always a big thing that they did. Like WrestleMania 10, they had a big March to WrestleMania special. So that was the idea behind it. And it was really kind of a test for us. So we just had set the ring up. We had a limited crew that day, and we really just wanted to kind of test the waters, get the production set up for WrestleFest. So that was the thinking behind that show.
Okay. The referee for that show is a referee that would seem to kind of last throughout most of the run. One of the, I guess you would call him maybe the chief referee or the head maybe Referee Rich was the head referee.
Yeah, he was the head ref, easily.
Gentleman by the name of Josh Capron, who apparently was quite common, maybe kind of like second in command for the referee crew.
Yeah, he was a friend of Josh and I's, and we brought him in, and yeah, he was a little younger than us, so he was kind of a midget among giants, I'll say. We're trying to keep order in these matches here. So
it's a little person, Justin. A little person.
Yes, he was a little person. No, he's not a legit little person. But yeah, Josh Capron, kind of a novice though in the world of wrestling. So he made for an interesting referee since he didn't really know what the hell he was doing half the time.
Josh, just
the energy though.
Incidentally, Josh, we are in the license of a wrestling show tonight, so it is legal for us to call them midgets. It's okay. There's no offense.
That's true.
There's no offense. Don't worry about it.
The PICs are not PC. Good thing.
Yes, but in the wrestling world, what is? So let's discuss your announcers. Now, I know there'll be very, very well-known announcers we'll discuss later on down the line. Your announcers on this night, gentleman by the name of Gino Typhoon, obviously a play on words there, Mr. Bob McClanahan, and a Mr. Jimmy Jones. Tell us about these gentlemen.
Well, these were our three main play-by-play guys. We felt like we should get them right off the bat before we brought in any of our color commentators, any of the personalities. We thought it would be best to have the straight men do this opening show to kind of each get into the groove. They all brought different styles. Gino Typhoon was more of a technical guy. He really more of a scientific guy. Would you agree, Josh?
I would, actually, yes.
Yeah, he kind of was more into the moves and the holds. Bob McClanahan was very bombastic, almost like a prototypical Vince McMahon style, very outgoing. He kind of drove the storylines. And Jimmy Jones was more, I don't know how to describe Jimmy Jones. Annoying?
I think that's a good word.
Yeah. Yeah, he was maybe like Tony Schiavone of the promotion.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Now, this is obviously a short show, 4 matches. There's some obviously landmark figures and some enduring characters that we will hear very often on this program tonight. 3 of them in particular. I'll get to them in a minute. There were a couple of gentlemen that opened the show. A guy by the name of the Boss Man. Now, of course, playing on words again, taking on someone called Red Carrot. Which one of you gentlemen was his agent? Just want to make sure.
That was one of Matt's boys, Red Carrot.
Okay.
And Matt himself was a big Jeff Jarrett fan, so I think he brought this guy in just to kind of be a rip-off of Jeff Jarrett. He did the whole R-E-D-D red, 2 Ds in red, and then the C-I-R-R-O-T-T for Carrot.
Okay.
Kind of a lame character. He had like big bushy blonde hair, and he had a southern drawl, and I never cared for Red Carrot. I was glad to see Boss Man squash him in the opener. Of course, Boss Man was one of my boys, but he took care of him pretty quick with the Boss Man Slam. You have to have a law enforcement officer character. You just have to do it.
Yes. All right. This next match, the next match on the card involves a guy that we're going to talk about a lot, and he's actually one of my favorite guys. And Justin, I'd like you to expound on this certain guy, because he would play a major role in the company, kind of like the Tommy Dreamer of sorts, never really left. That's MVP. Debuts here, defeats another gentleman named Rap Master Jay.
Of course, that was we're going to play some theme songs throughout the show here. That was MVP's iconic theme, Rock and Roll Part 2. MVP was awesome. Of course, he came out rocking the old St. Mary's basketball jersey. And this was a great match. Now, Rap Master Jay was interesting because we loved the gimmick a lot, but the guy who originally played the character ended up leaving, and we replaced him with a new character who had become kind of the iconic Rap Master Jay. But the guy here could really work. And this was like the first legit match that kind of put us on the map. One of the early fan favorite matches. Josh, what do you recall about that battle?
I don't recall much from it, actually, except for the fact, at the time, all I remember concerning was trying to, get my particular guys in line for WrestleFest, personally. So, it's kind of not paying attention to the other matches, and I feel bad.
Well, that was a... Well, Ratmaster was one of your guys, though, early on, so yeah, I thought maybe you would have been invested.
He never jived.
Okay, never jived. Yeah. It was a good match.
Okay. All right. The next match, a guy by the name of Greg Powers.
He was not a jive sober on there.
No, he was not. Not yet.
No. There are a couple of other low mid-card guys. A gentleman by the name of Greg Powers defeated someone named the Scorpion with the Boston Crab. Kind of ironic he would lose to a move that's kind of symbolizes his character. All right. Now, these next 2 guys we're going to talk about quite a bit for the next, say, hour and a half or so. We'll start with a gentleman that you know very well, Josh, and a guy that many consider, let's say, the Shawn Michaels of WCF. An exceptional talent, but also a little temperamental. Gentleman by the name of Sexy Steve.
Yeah, I really thought Sexy Steve. He was very special. He had a lot of charisma, I'd say. Early going, still not very good with the interviews, but no
one really was early on.
No, they found their way. But this match I thought was great because these were 2 what were poised to be superstars of its company, and to see them, I thought it's one of my favorite early matches.
Well, a couple of things too on this. One, you could tell right off the bat backstage we were really trying to give good matches, not. We're trying to deliver the star power right away. Like Josh said, these were supposed to be 2 of the premier guys in the promotion, so I thought it was cool that we threw that match out there right on the first show. And Andy and Josh, you both agree that Sexy Steve probably top 3 worker, if not number 1 in the promotion?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. He's certainly one of the better technical wrestlers we ever saw in this federation.
Yeah, I definitely would agree there. He knew what to do, and I think he sold stuff really well.
And one of the guys that really grows the most as the promotion goes along. Here, he's like you said, he was a little bit rigid in his promos, and his character's kind of developing. He had long, flowing hair, and just kind of an odd outfit. And things would really settle in for him as we move along, and he'll really grow. And he's one of the guys I want to track as we move through this.
Now, his opponent, as you mentioned, a character, a superstar by the name of Jolter. He was obviously Justin, your cousin's top guy. He had the eye of the tiger as well. Tell us a little bit about the relationship that he had with Jolter and how he was able to bring him into the promotion.
Tight. They were super close. He was probably his favorite guy of all his guys. Really always fought for him backstage, really pushed for him. And, we were trying to decide early on, going into WrestleFest, which was coming up after this, we had already created the titles and assigned them to different wrestlers that we had kind of carried over from the other WCF. And we were trying to decide who would be a great foil for the champion, who we'll get to in a minute. And right away, he pushed for Jolter, and we thought he had a great look. Everything all right over there?
Sounds like Jolter's moving his robes around.
Yes. Anyway, so Matt really pushed for him right off the bat. He thought he'd be a good foil, and we agreed. So we agreed to let Jolter become, right off the bat, the main top face of the promotion.
Okay. So that was Road to WrestleFest. As that show ended, you were preparing for really your WrestleMania, to be quite honest. How did you feel after Road to WrestleFest ended? Did you feel confident? Think we feel good. Did you feel things were a little flat? You needed some work. Give me some of your quick pluses and minuses after that Road to WrestleFest show.
I thought we felt good. I thought it was a great start, and I thought we were looking forward to bringing in more of a crew that we had lined up for WrestleFest. Like, it was nice that we had kind of a bare bones thing going on, but we were looking forward to getting some more of the boys in there, and we had a lot more characters come in. We had some more announcers on the way, referee. We had a lot of things coming.
Yeah, essentially, essentially it came down to we had set up the ring, and we were just really excited to use the ring.
Right.
And and then I was like, well, if we just did this, then imagine what WrestleFest is going to be like. So we were very excited leaving this first show.
And also bringing in a whole new ring crew, our buddy Rich, close relationship with the man who would eventually become the figurehead president. And he would become the ring crew guy. He was the guy who always got there early, set up the ring, kind of got all the technical stuff set up and got us going. And he was a key cog in the promotion. He was actually the brother of the main referee we're talking about, Referee Rich. So they were, I mean, he was a major part. Like, he kept us going behind the scenes. A lot of people didn't know what a role he played, but without him, I don't know what we would have done a lot of those shows, because none of us were competent enough to put the ring up. So.
Tell me a little bit about merchandising and kind of promotion. How did you get fans in? Did you have flyers on telephone poles, radio ads? How did you get the people into the arena?
Word of mouth. I'd say that was pretty much it. We planned to get on public access. That was our whole goal in getting this going. So we were hoping to get some TV out there, but it was pretty much just word of mouth at this point. There's definitely no internet.
Once you're on public access, then the people just knocked on your door to see your events.
Definitely. That was the goal.
All right. Well, 1 month later, we enter WrestleFest 1. August. Not quite sure we have a day, but it was definitely August of 1994 at the outdoor Lakeside Arena. Packed house, I heard. And I am fortunate enough to have one of the very few copies of WrestleFest 1. One of my favorite shows for many reasons. Your announcers pretty much, two guys stayed, Bob McClanahan and Jimmy Jones. Out went Gino Typhoon, but in his place, two gentlemen who you can almost consider the Gorilla and Bobby of WCF, in my opinion. His real name is Mike McKenna, but he is affectionately known as Filth Ball. And he pretty much, in my opinion, and you guys could back me up on this, would be the voice of WCF. Do you agree?
Yeah, and sadly he'd only do a couple of shows with us before he moved on, but he was a lifelong friend of mine, knew him growing up, grade school, and we were actually at a cookout one time, and we were talking about it. I think Jim and myself were kind of talking about the show coming up that we were going to do, and he overheard us, and he got all interested. He wanted to help out and join in, so he was good friends with Rich as well, and the four of us were pretty close all through grade school, so we decided to bring him in as the announcer. And another guy didn't know a ton about wrestling, but had a ton of enthusiasm, so much excitement, and that's what makes this first show so great is his commentary, because he's so over the top, and he sells everything great, and really puts over the characters, and just knows kind of when to amp it up and when to tone it down. And what do you guys think, Andy? What did you think when you first watched the show and you heard Filth Ball?
Yeah, as you pointed out, the energy and the commitment to the storyline really makes up for a lack of technical knowledge in his commentary, and like you were saying with Rich. Doing all the little small things that let you get the show on the road, he kind of added I was going to say professionalism, but that's not really it.
No, definitely not professional. The opposite of professional. That's what made the
Yeah,
maybe we were too tight. Maybe we were a little too rigid, and he added some looseness to it.
Yeah, there's kind of like, he added a sheen to the production and kind of like made it feel more real. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think it was the faux mullet he had going on. Kind of added the party atmosphere.
Well, also, I mean, his Houston Astros hat was just killer. So.
And that was when that logo just started. That was like it had just changed over.
It blew my mind at the time. I was like, "What? Someone has an Astros hat?"
And he had the classic yellow polo and the blue shorts. So it was that's the infamous filth ball. And the filth ball name, he came up with that. I wanted to call Mean Mike McKenna, and he pushed for the filth ball name. So it stuck, and it was a good one.
Thank God.
Did that originate with WCF, or did that predate it?
Filth ball? No, I think he came up with it on the spot.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that was it. He just wanted to be a filth ball.
And I remember feeding lines to Bob McClanahan early on, and he was kind of bagging on the name early in the show because I think I was so angry about it, losing the battle there. But the interesting thing, Scott, and I know we got one more announcer to talk about, but we really tried to rotate the announcers throughout the show to make it not so blah, where it's always the same two people talking. So throughout the show, we're rotating these guys in and out. One match is Jimmy Jones and Phony Fun, and one match is Jimmy Jones and Filth Ball. Then it's Bob, Phony Fun, and Filth Ball. So, it was kind of a rotating mix of announcers.
Okay. And what's ironic, as you mentioned, or what's funny, I should say, Josh, about Filth Ball's hat is A, that was the year that Jeff Bagwell won the National League MVP, and B, the strike had just happened. So there's a lot of turmoil in the baseball world, and he wore his Astros hat proudly, as I believe that was the first season of that logo in those new uniforms.
Yep.
All right. The other gentleman that made his debut is a guy, again, very iconic in WCF lore, and would end up having his own show, which we'll talk about, or his own segment, I should say, which we'll talk about a little bit later on. I'm assuming this is his first name, Phony?
Phony.
So his name was actually Phony. See, I was talking to my assistant here. Phony Fun.
Phony Fun
was his actual name. Phony Fun. Tell us about Phony Fun.
Well, he was a good friend of Jim's who kind of came along. Like I said, Jim was kind of this ancillary guy that was kind of my buddy had grown up, and he was a big wrestling fan. And he was kind of clueless. He's a little behind the times at the time. So we got him amped up quickly, and he brought some of his boys in. And Phony Fun, it was actually derived from one of Jim's nicknames growing up. Because we were at school one time, and he was always late. So one of these days he comes in late, and Filth Ball actually said, "Oh, you're late, Phony." It was a commercial that was airing back in the 80s. Someone used to say that. So the nickname stuck. So he was trying to come up with a name for this guy he brought in to announce, and he said, "How about Phony Fun?" So there you go. Phony Fun.
Very interesting. So a four-man booth to start.
And the weird thing is Phony Fun starts off as kind of like a hillbilly in this first episode, and then he kind of switches it up his character and kind of becomes more of just like you said, just like a color guy, like a Bobby Heenan type. But here he's using this weird cowboy accent, and it's very odd.
Yeah, it felt very very odd.
Yeah.
Okay, the referee and you guys had marathon referees, no switching up between matches.
Oh no, he worked the whole card. Yep.
Yeah, referee.
He was
Rich.
in great cardio shape in those days.
Yes, he was. Yes, referee Rich, pretty much the Earl Hebner of WCF. He was the head referee.
Another guy too with the blue polo, the jorts, the Yankee hat, and the sunglasses. That was referee Rich. The Yankee hat pulled tight over his giant ginger bowl cut.
Jorts. He was Jorts before John Cena was Jorts.
He was. He was. We had a lot of jorts guys. It was a staple of Molliseum Video Productions.
Yes. Okay, 6 matches. We'll just go through these first couple quick. A gentleman by the name of Vince Rotten.
From Las Vegas. Yep.
The Rocker with the jackknife. Oh, how about that? A popular finisher back in 1994.
Yeah, this was just to get the crowd going. Rocker was kind of a high flyer. Obviously patterned after the Rockers. Vince Rotten was just a big bruising guy. Had a beard, hit a power bomb. And that was a big, some big moves out of the bat for these guys. Powerbomb was a pretty heady move here in WCF. Now, Josh, your guys here were involved in a lot of these matches. You brought a lot of workers in, and guys that we could really count on to deliver some good matches. Was Rocker one of your favorites, or did you kind of not have much of a relationship with him?
Well, Rocker originally, he came in and definitely liked the style, and I liked the way he worked. However, he's one of those guys where he just kind of faded out, to be honest.
Yeah.
I felt he just kind of stopped working, and you wouldn't see anyone around the locker room much. Like after, he was just gone almost immediately. So
Interesting.
I liked him. I liked him a lot, to be honest. But sometimes these things happen.
Yep.
Well, as we will talk about throughout the evening, more than once things involving the locker room happened, and one big one will be coming up shortly. We'll get to that in a moment. Our next match, the Barber Chip Roberts. Tell me about this gentleman. I saw him in an autograph signing a few months back at a convention. Still looks like he's in pretty good shape and very talkative, very very pleasant guy. Tell us about the Barber Chip.
One of Matt's boys. It's funny you say he seemed nice because I thought he was kind of an a-hole.
He's kind of a dick.
Right? He always wanted to put himself over, it seemed like. Never was happy. He always had to get the last shot in.
Yeah.
He was never happy with ever laying down or jobbing. And, here we got a guy in Sexy Steve that was, meant to be one of the centerpieces, the best work in the promotion. And he's going to go toe-to-toe with this guy, the Barber. And Steve ends up losing by count out, and then Barber chops off some of his long hair at the end. And they're kind of a weak match. A big moment, though, early on is we have a major debut where, along with Sexy Steve, was his bodyguard, Mac Truck. Jim kind of foisted this guy onto Josh. And Josh, were you hesitant early on to have someone with Sexy Steve? Did you think he was someone that should have been kind of a solo act?
Yes and no. Actually, like we said, his interview skills at the time were still kind of weak. And, his personality in the ring was there. But he kind of needed someone else with him. I think I obviously loved Mac Truck. I still talk to Mac Truck every now and then. I thought he was a really good guy, and I really think that him and Steve kind of did have that good chemistry in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We'll get more into Mac Truck a little bit later on. I have to say, I don't have many. I'm not going to give many of my opinions on this show. This show is all about you guys and your memories. But I have to say, Mac Truck was honestly never one of my favorites.
A very innocuous and quiet debut.
Yeah, and he was not a guy that I enjoyed trying to. When I attempted to find him for the show, it didn't go well. But we'll get to that later.
Well, maybe you didn't approach him the right way. I don't know.
The next match might go down, gentlemen. Might go down. And maybe I'm being nice about it. Maybe I need to be even nicer. Maybe I'm holding back. One of the greatest matches in the history of WCF, right off the bat.
Mm-hmm.
You guys obviously needed to introduce your titles to the picture, correct?
Yep.
So the WCF tag team titles were on the line in a tremendous match. Your champions, a couple of interesting guys, a gentleman by the name of the Marco brothers. Were they from another country?
From Italy.
They were from Italy.
Well, one guy was. This is a unique story, okay? So Matt brings in this guy, Tony Marco, from Italy. He's like, this guy's a hell of a worker. You got to bring him in. And the only thing is, he didn't think he'd work well as a solo act. He thought he needed kind of a big man to pair up. So Jim, he's like, listen, I got this guy. He's a little slow. His name's Jimmy Dorito. I think he was out of Pittsburgh. So he comes up. He's a little slow, a little out there, kind of matters on and gibberish and all this other stuff. But he was a good big man worker, solid, thick. And he said, why don't we put him and Tony? We'll do the fake brother thing. We'll say Jimmy's, Jimmy's Italian, Jimmy Marco, Tony Marco. So they became, the tag team champions. We had to put the belts on someone. We wanted a big match, and they were a good team, kind of in the Hart Foundation mold.
I remember a very good bootleg tape I have of an early match they had in Coventry at a small house show that you guys had, and they were exceptional. But Jimmy was a little. I don't know what country is he from, because I'm trying to figure out. I have a myriad of dictionaries here of various languages. What does Ziggy actually mean?
The guy was whacked. I don't know. Andy, you kind of got to know him late. What was he? Just out there? Was he popping pill? I mean, what what was the deal with him? Do you know?
Was he like Ted Arcidi? Was he? Did he have some other issues?
Yeah, I wouldn't blame it on substance abuse. Okay. I think he was just naturally on a different wavelength than everyone else. Okay. It was really hard to tell what was going on behind the scenes there.
Yeah, it was weird. You had this weird connection with him late, so it was just kind of odd.
I just wanted to know, because a lot of his early promos, he would kind of say something and then say Ziggy about 8 times on either side. I don't know. It was very strange. However, their opponents on this afternoon for the World Tag Team titles, one of the greatest tag teams I had ever seen. What I love about this tag team is not only were they excellent in the ring,
Yes.
But they were color coordinated, and they did the flip-flop, right? One had yellow shirt and blue tights, the other had blue shirt, yellow tights, I believe.
And they were a beast tag team.
Yes, this is the team of Thunder and Lightning. Josh, what were your thoughts on this team?
Obviously, they were really exciting. Like you said, for one thing, they were like, as far as color coordinating, that really wasn't something the tag teams were doing a lot of at that point. And that would come later. But yeah, they were just really exciting. One of them, Thunder, was obviously, he was huge, so he would rumble like thunder. And Lightning was just like this quick, high-flying type of guy. They were really fun to watch.
What happened was Josh and I, we were tight during this time, so we were trying to find guys somewhat in our mold. We saw ourselves as this kind of, whenever we used to like fake wrestle or do anything like that, we always kind of picture ourselves like a Shawn Michaels and a Diesel, or a smaller guy and a bigger guy, and just the styles we had. And so we went out, we tried to find two guys that kind of could represent us in the ring, and that's who these guys were. That was kind of the idea there. And like you said, the Thunder Lightning name I thought was great, and I thought the look was great, and I thought the style was great. Another team kind of in the Heart Foundation mold.
And their song was amazing.
Yes, Jet Airliner, one of the best.
Which at the time, we didn't even know that was a Steve Miller song.
No, we had no idea. It was just some song.
Amazed he got the rights for all these.
Well, yeah. Well, I think
that'll come later.
we kind of went under the arena law, I think, where we could just play whatever we wanted. But Matt was the main music guy at this point. He put all the music together. So, okay. But Thunder and Lightning, this was a hot match for the tag titles. Andy, because these early ones you just weren't with the crew yet. What did you think looking back on this match? Did you think it was the classic that Scott's got a heaping praise on, that we always look at it as?
Oh, absolutely. This is like Phil Ball's coming out party as an announcer. He really adds a lot to it. And it's, kind of a classic, each team has a high flyer, each team has a big guy, a lot of different matchups going on. And it was very, probably, like Scott said, the first great match in the history of the Federation.
The work rate in this match is incredible, and guys moving back and forth. And this is where we really start to see, even in a very early part of his career, how Filthball McKenna really stepped up to the plate and just delivered an unbelievable match as an announcer. And in the end, we had the lightning strike, another awesome finisher name. And even though the referee was giggling in the middle of the 3 count, the 3 count happened, and just one of the most seminal moments in the history of WCF was the end of this match. Filthball says we have new winners. Just love the way he worded it. So unique, so different. And as the music played, one of the Marco brothers running around complaining, and Filthball delivered his awesome line in his awesome Rhode Islandese. You get out of here, you sore loser. All
right, let's take you through the finish of this match really quick, because to me it's one of the best finishes. So we go in there and we put the match together. We want to get the titles off the Marcos. We thought Jimmy was too unstable, and Thunder and Lightning was clearly going to be our marquee tag team.
Tony, let's not leave Tony out of this. He was annoying.
Overbearing prick.
He was an overbearing prick, and he just was one of those people that would argue everything. Trying to get the belt off of him was so difficult.
Awful. It was the worst. I think it was a bad decision. Scott mentioned that match in Coventry, and maybe we got suckered in a little bit because they were working hard and kind of keeping the noses clean. But once they got those belts, I agree with you, Josh. It was a pain in the ass, and I think that was one of our first early missteps, really, was putting the belt on them to begin with.
But we got to have this awesome finish, so go on.
Right, so the match is going on. This is our first true chaotic match here in the WCF, because we got this first tag team match. Referee Rich trying to keep order, a lot of brawling. Guys keep getting in the ring and interfering. At one point, Referee Rich, takes down Thunder, and they're all brawling, and a chair gets involved. And finally, after Jimmy's taken out, Filthball's freaking out, going crazy. They hoist up Tony, and Thunder and Lightning hit the Flying Thunderbolt, which is a careening clothesline by Lightning as Thunder hoists him up into the air. Tony crashes down. They cover for the 3, and of course, Tony, being the annoying jackass that he is, kicks out as soon as the 3 count's finished. And then, the music blares up, and Filthball hits his iconic. We have new winners. We have new champions, Thunder and Lightning. And then after the match, Tony is, again, trying to upstage Thunder and Lightning. As they're celebrating with the titles, he's ranting and raving to the camera about how they get screwed and all this stuff. And that's where Filthball hits the infamous, get out of here, you sore loser line. And, no, I don't think anyone liked Tony Marco. No one anywhere.
difficult backstage guys. And speaking of backstage, some other difficulties were brewing, but we'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah.
Another iconic moment is in our next match, where a guy you mentioned earlier, Justin, who really was one of the fan favorites and a guy that you guys enjoyed working with. MVP became the inaugural WCF Intercontinental Champion, defeating the Slickster with a roll-up. What were you guys' thoughts on the Slickster?
Yeah, it's a great theme music. That's what I know.
Yes, that is absolutely true. What made these two guys become the two co-number one contenders for the vacant?
Well,
WCF?
no, it wasn't vacant. Slickster was the champion coming in.
Oh, he was. Okay.
This is a great character, Josh. Do you agree? He was one of your guys. I think he was one of the best developed characters early on. Josh, with us?
Maybe he got a call from Tony Marco.
Maybe he was very upset.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we got
you
you
now.
now. All right. Yeah, thoughts on the Slickster, Josh?
No, I thought that the Slickster, you're right. At the time, as far as the guys that, I was taking care of there and looking out for and really pushing, Slickster was already very well developed. Obviously, his music kicked ass, which the thing with a lot of times with backyard wrestling is that makes all the difference.
Yeah.
Sometimes. But yeah, he was generally, I just thought he had a good look, and like the rest of the guys, he worked really hard. But he'd be willing to job to people if he had to. So.
Right. And he does here. He lays down.
Yeah.
MVP, had a manager, the coach. It was kind of weird because he's a face, and he's meant to be a face, but he got some kind of instant heel heat. Phony Fun and Filth Ball and commentary didn't help things right away. They kind of were talking down to him and kind of ragging on him, so it was put in a weird spot. This guy was supposed to be an upper mid-card face taking the secondary title, and they're almost treating him like he's a kind of a brash heel. So anyway, they end up winning. Coach threw some water on Slickster, and MVP rolled him up. So a good match. Another great two guys who had some good chemistry out there, and the MVP wins the IC title. So now we have two new champions, new tag, and new IC title. And these are the guys we wanted to carry these titles early on.
Okay. Oh, yeah. All right. The next match involves two guys I really wanted to talk about because I know they were kind of higher on the payroll scale in WCF, yes. Mostly because they were foreigners, and the whole the conversion thing was very difficult. Lord James Brown.
Very repetitive music of Lord James Brown.
Yes, and was he British, I believe?
Yes, he was.
Okay. Took on a gentleman that Josh, I've really been looking forward to
British,
talking to.
let me just stop here. If he's British, why was his music that? Because we all know it's wrestling. And your music cannot sound very different than your persona.
Yeah, odd choice. He was a weird dude, Lord James Brown. Someone who had a much higher opinion of himself than he was competing in the ring. He thought he could work, and he was not a good worker. He wasn't very good at all. Just an odd dude. He kept to himself a lot, and we didn't position him well at all. He was one of those guys that we talked up like he was legit, but he never won anything and always basically jobbed left and right.
Well, guys, I have an update for you. I'm not sure if you know this or not, but a few years ago I was down in Florida, and it turned out that he owns a Shoney's in Fort Lauderdale.
That doesn't surprise me.
No, not at all.
I'm sure he's still working the Indies down there, trying to make a name for himself, but he was washed up in '94, so I can't imagine he's doing much now.
Okay. Now, his opponent, Josh, I really been waiting to talk to you about. The man who perfected the singlet, although it almost kind of looked like a Flintstone singlet, but it was a little baggy. But from the French Alps in Grenoble, which I guess that would mean North Providence or something, and that would mean Samuel the Giant. Now, this was probably one of your trickier charges. Again, a guy who I'm not sure how his English was. Obviously, he was paid in francs. Tell me a little bit about Samuel the Giant.
Well, I found out later. This is key. Okay, I found out later that Sam. Well, he was a basket case for one thing. Like we were just like he was just weird. It wasn't really like a problem backstage, but he was just a weird guy. I find out later.
He was easy to pick on.
He was very easy to pick on. He just like his mannerisms in general were just sporadic and they made no sense. Found out later, he's on the autism scale. He's got Asperger's.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah,
we didn't know about that back
you,
then. It wasn't big. You didn't hear much about Asperger's in
No,
'94.
a guy just acted like a little funny, a little weird, and you're like, oh, what? Yeah, he was. Now, like, I mean, he's fully able to function and everything, as you could tell from this event, but yeah, it made a lot of sense. Is just like as Scott, as you know, this in this particular event, he tore down the entire ring when he tripped over it.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, and he's not a big guy.
Yeah. Now, Justin, you had being the head booker, you had been a little nervous with two kind of unpredictable personalities in the ring.
I always liked Samuel. I mean, I had a soft spot for the kid. I mean, he was obviously trying, and we should have realized something was up when he would just sit backstage and like spout off results of old wrestling cards like randomly. And he, if you ever interrupted him when he was watching a show, he'd like freak out and stuff. So we should have probably figured something was up. But he was a big Andre fan growing up, so that's the gimmick he wanted to carry over, and that's what he did. And yeah, of course, a classic moment when he trips and takes the ring down. And before that, he's flailing his arms to the music in this weird motion. I don't know what the hell he was doing. So
in hindsight, it all makes so much sense.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so he defeats Lord James Brown with a move that kind of hard to explain, but it's quite legendary. It's there's the stunner, the pedigree, etc., and then there's the French croissant.
Yes.
Josh, tell us about the French croissant and how did Samuel the Giant come up with that finisher?
Well, I didn't really ask him how he came up with anything because trying to get any answers out of him was a little difficult. But he basically just copied what he'd seen prior from those that he loved the most in wrestling. Yeah, and I think that was fairly obvious.
He just cribbed it. And, I feel bad looking back because, this poor kid, we sent him out there, and he wanted to be Samuel the Giant, this big French guy, and we had Phil Ball call him Samuel the Giant, like Sam, not Samuel, and so that stuck with him backstage, and I think it wreaked havoc on his head. Like Josh said, he was just a basket case. And looking back, now that we know what we know, we feel bad for how we treated him, but Samuel, the win.
All right, but he got the win. He got the big win at the first WrestleFest over Lord James Brown.
Thank God, because I don't know what he would have done. He would have flipped out probably if we didn't.
All right. We are at our main event, the WCF Heavyweight Championship. Jolter, gentleman you guys just talked about, high in the babyface scale, taking on the WCF Heavyweight Champion, a gentleman by the name of Flash.
Can I gush about Flash really quick?
Please, be my guest.
One of my favorite guys, temperamental, hard to deal with, but this guy could just work his ass off. When he got out there, it was like the switch turned on. Could work a hell of a match, had a great star aura. The music was awesome. The presentation was awesome. He had the paint on his face, this great yellow and black combo. He had an awesome manager, Doc Holliday, just kind of a douche manager. And it was almost like a guy who didn't need a manager, but he was so fucking good, he had to have a great manager with him. You know what I'm saying? Like, Doc Holliday didn't carry him or do anything for him. They were more like a team. But I thought they worked really well together. He spoke this gibberish that just somehow clicked and made sense. The belt man is staying with me was one of his phrases. Like, no one even knew what the fuck he was talking about, but it was great. I mean, I thought it was a character that really popped right off the bat. And that's why we put the world title on him to start things off.
Right. I saw him wrestle a great match in East Providence, house show early, another on my bootleg tapes, a 60-minute Broadway with a local wrestler. Kind of like when you carry the territories with a title. He brought the WCF heavyweight title into this North Providence promotion, 60-minute Broadway with a local guy. An incredible worker. But something was brewing behind the scenes, Justin. We've been very kind of a touchy subject here, but for the first time here on the air, we're going to talk about it.
Okay.
Something was going on between Road to WrestleFest and WrestleFest, behind the scenes, involving you and Jolter and kind of some.
All right, I'll just get right into
things. So why don't you dive right in? Let us know what happened.
And Josh can fill in the foggy spots in the memory.
Oh, I'm no good for that, but I'll try.
I think this will be okay. So, the plan all along, like we said, Matt was really pushing the hell out of Jolter. Big time supporter of him. And we agreed to let Jolter face Flash here and win the WCF title. Okay, so we're all on board with this idea. Matt's thinking his boy's going to take the title. Josh, I'm sorry, you wanted.
No, I was gonna say, because keep in mind, Flash was great, but Jolter was also up there as far as star power goes. I mean, that guy had it too.
Definitely.
Oh yeah.
So Josh and I one night we're downstairs in the basement. We're kind of booking the show out. I think it was like the night before actually. We're booking the show out. We're playing some pool. Flash comes in and we're just kind of talking things over. Like, this guy, there's something about him. And we're thinking about it. Flash took off. He went to go grab some dinner or something. So Josh and I are talking, and we're like, there's no money in putting the title right on Jolter. Like, Flash is going to be such a great heel. And we're like, really, the idea should be to keep the title on Flash and have Jolter chase him for a while and then take the title from him. This could be like our top epic feud. And Flash was such a great character as champion with the music. Everyone dug him. So we looked at each other like, at the same time, we kind of look up and we're like, we got to have Flash keep the title. We cannot let Jolter take the strap. So we're talking, and we're like, there's no way Matt's going to go for this. He's already told Jolter. He's already sold him on the belt. There is absolutely no way this guy is going to, all of a sudden change directions and let his guy lay down for Flash. So we decided...
We also gave him the Marco. We had the Marcos lose, which was something that was... So this was kind of in exchange for that as well.
Right. But... we came to the point where we didn't care.
Yeah.
So, this promotion, this starting up, Matt is one of the main guys backing it. But we decided, we threw things away, of course, early on. We decided to screw Jolter in the Lakeside Arena in August 1994, the original screw job, the Rhode Island screw job. So we get a hold of everyone that's going to be involved. We talk to Jim, fill him in, so he lets his guys know. Mack Truck was placed in commentary on the main event. No one knew why. He was kind of associated with Doc Holliday. Referee Rich we brought into the fold. Josh's sister was there working catering, Samantha. We filled her in. My sister was there taking pictures. We filled her in. So everyone knew what was going on except for Matt and his guys. So the match is going. It's a pretty good match. It's coming close to the time where Jolter's supposed to win. All hell breaks loose. Doc Holliday's at ringside, throws his hat down to the ground. That triggers Mack Truck, gets in the ring, starts pounding on Jolter. Referee Rich calls for the bell, and Flash and Doc Holliday book it to the back. They take off, and they go hide in the basement or something. So Jolter's flipping out right in the middle of the ring. He is flipping out. Mack Truck's trying to beat him down to keep him on the ground. Filthball gets out in front of the camera to wrap the show up. We're trying to get off the air as quick as we can. He's saying Flash is still the champion. Jolter flips out, tosses Mack Truck out of the ring, grabs the microphone for Filthball, cuts his crazed promo, and basically breaks character. He's like, that's not how we're supposed to do things. I was supposed to win the match, and we're trying to just get off the air really quickly, and he's like forcing us to talk about this stuff on camera. Finally, we're able to get Mack Truck back up on his feet to attack Jolter, and one of my favorite parts is Jolter just snaps, and he's like, "This is not how it's supposed to go." My sister off camera laughs at him. So now you're being mocked by like a 10-year-old, which to me was just the epic slap in the face. So we cut. Finally, we calm Jolter down, and to me, this led to and you guys can back me up, some of the greatest promo work of all time in WCF. Flash cuts this awesome promo with Doc Holliday and Mack Truck. Jolter cuts his own promo, and Jolter cuts one first, then Flash, and then Jolter interrupts Flashes, and they do a great face-to-face to set up a rematch. And to me, you could see like the dollar signs. Just 3 phenomenal promos. You guys agree?
I completely agree.
Andy?
Yeah, I mean, it was all very underhanded and, maybe hard to justify, but it led to such an iconic moment. Like, like you said, he poured out this great promo.
And he was so angry, yeah.
It was amazing. You could feel the emotion there.
He would have never cut that promo. Like, even if we had somehow convinced him to keep the belt on Flash, I don't think we would have gotten that promo. Like, which actually probably is what set us going forward, was like that big moment for us.
Unfortunately, though, it did have a little bit of fallout because he hit it early on, and that led into a TV taping we recorded. Unfortunately, the tape was lost. Lost to the bowels of Matt's basement because at that time, Matt quickly soured on the WCF. He didn't like the way we treated his guy Jolter. He didn't like the way we kept him in the dark. And things really, really started to get ugly. You could tell it wasn't quite the same anymore with him, but it didn't manifest itself for a while. He was still kind of showing interest, but you could tell that he lost that fire that he had early on.
Okay. Before we get to the next card, and the next show, I'm going to ask both of you, looking back almost 20 years later, was it worth it?
Am I supposed to say no? Because the answer is yes.
You can say whatever you want.
Yeah.
There's no... Was it worth it? Justin, was it worth it?
Yeah.
Okay. So, we move ahead, and obviously, again, things backstage a little shaky. One of the co-creators of the promotion now a little grizzled, feeling that he was betrayed. But then something happens, Josh, and you ended up taking a hiatus. What happened there?
Well, really, I felt really guilty at first about what transpired there at WrestleFest. And I was just really, it's something I needed to walk away from, because obviously what we did was underhanded, and it caused a lot of grief in the company, obviously, because, people were in on it, but obviously you've got people talking now like, well, if they do that to Jolter, what's to stop them from doing that to me? So you had a little bit of rumblings of that, although I'd say we kept it, kept it quelled a little bit, but I couldn't take it. I had to get away for a little bit.
I think we really ruined a very innocent boy in co-owner Booker Matt.
Yeah.
I don't think he ever expected that would happen to him, especially at the hands of his friends and family. So I think we kind of opened his eyes to reality a little bit, and that's why he started to lose the exuberance he had just months prior. And losing you was a big blow, because all of a sudden my ally in this was gone, and now I'm there taking the bullets, so it was tough.
Which takes us to our next show. You actually did have a pay-per-view coming up later in the month, and that was Royal Rumble.
This was a really bad night.
At the indoor Lakeside Arena. First off, how did you guys actually get the rights to the title, Royal Rumble? Was that already copyrighted?
Yeah, we can't really discuss it as part of the settlement. We had to keep it quiet. So,
yeah. So it took place at the same arena. This was later on in the month.
Well, the inside version, because it was the same
month,
okay. But the weather precluded us from being outside, so we had to move inside to the indoor Lakeside Arena. And this show was just a mess, because Josh was gone, and of course his guys are all loyal to him, so they're all gone. So now we're pissed. We think he's never coming back. I'm mad. He left me taking the bullets with Matt, and now all of a sudden he took some of the best talent. Sexy Steve's gone. Flash is gone. And all of a sudden we're there, left to deal with the fallout. So we bring in, and also referee Rich couldn't come that day. So now we're really on a bare bones crew. So we have no referee. So I call in one of my other younger cousins to show up last minute. This kid, Jared Johnson, clueless out there. He really couldn't help walk anyone through these matches at all. So we were able to bring Filth Ball in. Him and Phony Fun called the match. But as you see, Scott, the card is not one of the best. And we were clearly hurting on star power at this point due to the defection of Josh's guys.
Yes, well, there were a couple of title changes going on here. This one kind of puzzles me, guys. I got to be honest with you. MVP with such a big win at WrestleFest, moments later losing the WCF Intercontinental title to Java Man. I don't know who this gentleman is. He's kind of new to me. Who is this Java Man, and why was he booked to become Intercontinental Champion?
All right, this is what happened. Okay, Josh leaves. His guys go with him. Matt gained some more power back, and also part of it was we just felt really bad. So we started to really capitulate to Matt. We started to give him some more say in things, and almost like makeup. We're trying to make up to him what had happened. So what we did was we allowed his boy Java Man to step in, and this guy was just I don't know. He was just another weird foreign character. He was spoken this odd Brazilian accent. I don't know what the gimmick was supposed to be, but we allowed to let one of our most fan favorite guys by this point, one of our best workers, most loyal guys, MVP, laid down for him. So Java Man took the IC title, and again, that was kind of helping Matt out to get over the whole screw job.
Okay. Next match, an Iron Man match, a pretty good one, 10 minutes. The Barber Chip
Yes.
Roberts beats the Accountant. Tell us about the Accountant. Was he a newcomer?
Yeah, just a kind of a nerdy douchebag, like patterned after IRS. Just a guy who really had an attitude. Of course, always wanted you to pay your taxes. Filthball with one of the iconic lines in WCF history. You could take your taxes and shove them down your throat. So one of the great lines. But can you see a theme here, Scott, with Matt's guys all picking up wins on this show?
Yes. Well, I was about to mention that as we get to the next match, where apparently Jolter, obviously with Flash leaving, I guess Jolter was bequeathed the WCF World Championship.
No, Flash was. He was loyal enough and man enough not to just walk out, so he laid down for Jolter at a house show in a quick match. He wasn't happy about it, but he wanted to follow Josh out, and so we figured, we'll put the title back on Jolter. Terrible, because we just aborted this whole huge angle we had planned, and now it's just down the toilet. Jolter has the title back. We bring in this nondescript guy, Strongman Sid, is just kind of an off-month challenger for him, and Jolter just eradicates him quickly.
Okay.
It's really a shame you put all that effort into building up that feud,
Killed
and
me.
spending all that political capital there, and then just turn right around and give it right back to him.
Yeah, you. I got to be honest with you, Jr. Eating a lot of crow here at this point after putting this whole thing together, and now all of a sudden you're kind of, you are kind of left holding the bag. What was your thinking as you were having to book this show that now suddenly, after pulling this off and getting what you wanted and everything seemed to be okay, now all of a sudden you're pretty much at the behest of a guy that didn't trust you? How did that feel?
It was tough. I was missing Josh, and I was talking to him constantly, trying to get him back. I was showing him the tapes, what was going on, and really just begging him just to get back here. And it was really just all making up for Matt. Like, we wanted to keep him happy because we wanted to keep him part of it. We did feel bad, even though I still feel it was the best for the promotion. And it just sucked. It sucked to piss away, like Andy said, to really piss away that feud we had set up with Flash and Jolter.
Josh, what were you doing during this time? Were you doing some indie dates? What were your guys? You just kind of keep your guys in shape. What were you doing during this?
Well, I was keeping my guys in shape, doing some indie dates. One reason that I didn't point out earlier was also my guys feared retaliation from some of Matt's guys. Like,
and you backstage, you thought Matt may jump you backstage.
I thought it. I mean, I was afraid like that. The anger in his eyes, and when that happened at WrestleFest, it was so scary because it's like, well, it definitely looked like if he was angry enough and Jolter was angry enough to go out there and cut that promo, like, you could see how real it was. It was like, well, what's going to happen when Flash gets into a ring with him again? Like, I was worried for Flash's safety, personally.
Okay.
So out in the Indies, it was a lot easier.
I see. All right, this last match kind of puzzles me.
All right, let's gloss it because it is grotesque.
Yeah.
A black mark in the history of WCF.
Yeah, you have a Royal Rumble match here involving the following gentlemen: the Boss Man, Scorpion, a couple guys from the first show, Matt
but not the original Scorpion.
No, none of these. This whole thing was a mess. The Scorpion was a second Scorpion, and he looked completely different. He had a kind of a pot belly, and it was embarrassing. We were such bare bones. We brought this guy in, Gary Bird. There's some aging veteran from like the I don't even know what promotion he was in, and we brought him in because we just needed bodies. And Sexy Steve is in the match. It wasn't even the original Sexy Steve. It was an imposter, a fake Sexy Steve. We tried to pass off to try and fill this gap until we could try and get Josh's guys back. It was atrocious. Mac Truck is out there. He had shaved for some reason before the show. He forgot he was going to wrestle, so he doesn't even look like the real Mac. It was a disaster, and we just decided we actually cut the match off halfway through the Rumble. We don't even finish the match. We just ended it. That's how embarrassing it was. I'm sorry?
I thought the venue shut you down.
That was a part of it. They wanted us out of there, and I don't blame them. But we just decided to cut our losses. I think we could have probably extended the lease, but we didn't want to even bother.
Yeah.
So Justin, what were your thoughts when this show? Did you feel your promotion was done? Were you baked? Were you going to go the way of the AWA, or did you feel you still had a lot of fire that you just needed to restoke?
I felt like we had the ability, but we needed Josh back. I thought without Josh, we were toast. I really didn't think it could keep going on like this with the lack of depth was killing us. Referee Rich was great, but he didn't really bring a lot as far as guys worth anything much talent wise. Josh really had the workers of the group, and I feel like a lot of Matt's guys now had a chip on their shoulder. They were tough to work with, and we were just really light on talent. And I thought we really needed Josh back in the fold to make this thing last.
All right. Well,
I feel
Josh.
You should. It was a tough time.
All right, Josh. What brought you back?
Well, I'd still been talking to Justin, obviously. I'd still been it got to a point where I was able to actually, seeing Matt around and we're able to like talk about what had happened. And I just felt that the time was better, and it was something that I didn't want to completely walk away from. Plus, I saw the tape of that Royal Rumble, and it was just so bad that I realized that maybe I should be there, or who knows what could happen to this company. I didn't want to give up completely.
Filth Ball was the lone highlight of the Royal Rumble. He was it was his final show, and he went out with a bang. He was great. He carried the entire thing. But other than that, just very forgettable. And I was great when I was finally able to convince Josh to come back. And even to drop the caveat that his guys couldn't compete with Matt's guys. We got them. We convinced him that no one was going to take any liberties with him. So heading into our December show, Holiday Slam Fest, we really were able to kind of get back on track.
Now, what was Matt's thoughts about Josh returning?
He was fine with it publicly. I don't know privately if I'm sure he had some reservation. And, I think there was always a little bit of jealousy with Matt, with the relationship I had with Josh, because Matt and I were pretty close, and then I met Josh, and, he lived across the street. We hung out more. So I think it was a little bit of jealousy in there. So I think when he came back, he felt like maybe I think he thought he had regained some of the relationship we had, and with Josh out of the way, that we could just kind of move on and get back to just being, his and I kind of thing. And with Josh back, I think he got a little edgy again, and that's where him and his guys really started to have the attitude of, A, we're pissed off, and B, Matt started to pull back and not care as much, it felt like. Mm-hmm. He was harder to get a hold of and stuff like that.
Right. Okay. Well, let's move ahead to Holiday Slam Fest, which took place back at the Indoor Lakeside Arena. So I guess the owners of the building allowed you back after the poor financial showing that Royal Rumble showed.
Well, we picked up a lot of star power again, so we're back up and running.
All right. How was the house shows in that 3-month stretch when the guys came back? I'm sure things picked up.
We got a boost. We definitely got a boost.
Okay. All right. The announcers are the same. Well, we had a new announcer, a guy that I had actually worked with at a promotion down in Memphis. One of my dearest friends, actually, now. Guy by the name of Sunglass Joe. Really a great guy. I got to know him later on in his career. He worked with me down at the Mid-South Coliseum. Tell us how you hooked up with Sunglass Joe.
We felt like we needed another color commentator to add a little flavor along with Phony Fun, someone to play off of him. We liked the idea of a 3-man booth. And, it was kind of an agreement with Josh. He wanted to bring in another guy. This is a dude he met, and he thought he would really add a lot of color. So this guy he actually wore a clown wig and sunglasses, but he was good. He was entertaining, and him and Phony Fun developed a great rapport right off the bat. Frustrating, I think, to work with for some of the straight color guys like Bob and Jimmy Jones, but really entertaining to listen to.
Referee Rich is your referee, and I can immediately tell guys right off the bat you were ready to jack the star power back up again because you have two of your biggest stars right out of the gate. Sexy Steve, back in the fold. You're Sexy Steve, Josh, taking on MVP for the WCF Intercontinental title. Now, it looks like, I guess, Justin, MVP won the title back.
Yeah, the Javaman experiment was short-lived. MVP won it back at a house show. We wanted to get it back off him. There was no reason for him to have that.
It made no sense.
All right. One of the better matches in the history of the company. It must have felt good to be back in the fold, Josh, back in the big time in the WCF. And right off the bat, one of your top guys put on a great showing.
Yeah, I would say that this would definitely mark the rise of Sexy Steve as far as within this organization. This is where you got to see exactly what he would start to be capable of. That we'll see later, in one of what could be one of the best matches of the entire organization. This was great, and I love that we opened up with it. To be honest,
yes.
And he became the new Intercontinental Champion.
And a new attitude with Sexy Steve. He drops the wig, goes kind of like a slicked back look, and I thought it was a good move to make him. I shouldn't have said wig, this long flowing hair, but basically...
He wore a wig, okay?
I'm trying to cover for him.
It's a poorly kept secret.
It was a terrible look.
Poorly kept secret. We all knew. And he just had to come clean, like the look that he wanted.
It was goofy before, and this makes him legitimate.
Exactly.
His first step towards becoming a top guy.
And logistically, it was a nightmare.
Yeah, so Sexy Steve, new IC champ and really on the fast track now.
Yeah.
Our next match, Rat Master J, guy we talked about earlier, defeated Greg Powers by countout. Next match.
Just a quick note on that match.
Sure.
Tempers flared big time. You could tell Greg Powers, a low-end jobber, Matt, had put the word in his ear to kind of try and screw with Rat Master. Rat Master was just being a dick. Now, this is the new Rat Master Jay, one of my guys. And really just kind of carrying out the feud that was starting to really brew between me and Matt backstage. The tension was there, and these guys end up just getting really stiff with each other and it ends in a double count-out because they brawl all over the back. And it was getting like really ugly out there. You could really start to feel the problems in the air.
However, we do have a pretty good match next. Two brand new teams feuding for the WCF Tag Team titles. Black Magic taking on a very controversial team. A lot of people were very uncomfortable with their title of their team. Biker Dudes. Can I say it? Okay. Biker Dudes from Heck. And I'm telling you, very controversial for their time, but they and Black Magic put on some title match, and Black Magic won the WCF Tag Team titles. Just to recap, guys, we're Biker Dudes from Heck, the champions going in.
They were. Thunder suffered a torn bicep, and they had to get the belts off them, and that was another big blow because they were such a hot tag team. So, we bring in these two guys, kind of career jobbers, and I don't know. It was a weird idea to give them the belts. I think we were trying to just, I don't know, draw some interest and turn some eyebrows sideways, and so we gave them the belts. But it was never a plan for them to keep them. Black Magic was kind of a rugged team we brought in, two real bruisers. They didn't really speak much English. They're just these two crazed maniacs that went out there and beat the shit out of people. So they quickly pretty much beat the crap out of the Biker Dudes.
Okay, so Black Magic, your WCF Tag Team champions. Lord James Brown in another match.
Oh,
Here's
God.
another guy. Here's another guy, Josh. I think this is one of your guys that I'd like to talk about.
I think is Andy walking on ice. What's he doing?
Is he bringing a wheelbarrow of weapons in?
I think he's ice fishing or something.
Yeah.
Another character, though, I want to talk about that's making his debut. Gentleman by the name of Van Burton. Josh, I believe this was one of your the guys that you worked with business-wise. Tell us about Van Burton.
Well, I hooked up with him out when I was working on the indie circuit there, and this guy, I mean, I saw a lot of potential in him, and I obviously, like, the rocker was gone, and Van Burton was kind of like a rocker also, so I figured, as you know, why change things up? I can just kind of tweak that and really work with him, and I thought this was a pretty good start. This match.
Okay. So and he does win. He actually comes in, wins his debut against Lord James Brown. All right, the main event. Jolter apparently between Royal Rumble and Holiday Slamfest. Well, actually, he had the title.
Right.
Jolter was still your heavyweight champion.
Yep.
However, here he takes on easily, me personally, and I'll say it right now unequivocally, my favorite wrestler in the history of the promotion. The man, the myth, just inducted into the Hall of Fame. His name, Lone Star.
And now Lone Star was actually the repackaged Strongman
Sid.
Sid.
Was gonna play. Sorry.
Well, I'm saving it for later when he wasn't the full-on Lone Star here yet.
Okay.
We'll save the music. He was a repackaged Strongman Sid. New gimmick. We thought he had the potential, so we put him in here. And again, it was another fight to get the title off Jolter. We thought the titles needed to be back on a heel. Flash was still kind of not back in the fold. He had made some commitments elsewhere, so he wasn't ready to be ramped up for this match. So we wanted to put the title on Lone Star. That we had some interesting stuff planned with Flash and Jolter. So Lone Star wins here with interference from Flash. So we think, okay, we're going to do this weird thing. Flash turns heel or stays heel. He puts the title on Lone Star, and then, may Flash and Jolter feud without the title for a while Lone Star kind of builds himself up as a champion. Then this nonsense happens after the match. Flash, after he helped Jolter lose, turns on Lone Star and associates with Jolter. They beat the piss out of Lone Star and make some bizarre proclamation that they're going to go after the tag titles. And they say, who cares about the world title? We're going after the tag titles. Now, I'm all for putting importance on the tag titles, but Josh, Why? What was in Flash's mind that he went along with this asinine, harebrained scheme of Matt and Jolters?
What was in Flash's mind? Who knows?
Yeah.
Flash is insane. Like that guy. Like we're not talking like we were talking about with Samuel. Like that, the thing that you talked about with Flash being so exciting is that he just seems like so intense and wild. Like I really don't know what the obsession was with the tag titles. Apparently, 2 titles are better than 1. I don't know. That way they could both have titles.
I mean, were you in the loop on this, or did he kind of go rogue on you?
No, he went rogue. I like that. That was one of the biggest problems with Flash. Is like you can never really control him, except obviously with a screw job, but that's why we had Mack Truck do the disqualification, because we couldn't trust Flash.
So now we're in this weird spot where we have to align Jolter and Flash. So I think we spun it okay, because now we're kind of like, all right, they can be a team, and then maybe they'll split up and feud. So, you have these 2 superpowers kind of uniting, and it's kind of, can they trust each other kind of thing. And, I think we were going to kind of turn it and make it work.
Well, here's the question I have for you, Josh. Do you think maybe Matt, Justin's cousin, got into Flash's ear? You think maybe they were trying to kind of give you the old "what goes around comes around" kind of thing? What do you think about that?
The old "what's good for the goose is good for the gander"?
Pretty much, yeah. What do you think about that?
I would say that I wouldn't really put it past him, especially with what I perceive that he thinks that I did to him, because I feel like a lot of the screw job he associated with me, because obviously I was the new component in that relationship there between Matt and Justin and myself. So yeah, I wouldn't have put it past him at all. Like, it would make sense that he would do that. Although why this would happen with Jolter, that it just doesn't make a lot of sense, really, if you look back on it. Mm-hmm. Okay. That Lone Star was a badass.
Okay. Now, around this time, obviously, Justin, as you've talked about, you and your cousin kind of were very tenuous in your relationship, during, at this point in the company's history. Although you got to feel overall, regardless of what's going on backstage, you got to feel pretty good about yourself. After a very subpar Royal Rumble, this Holiday Slam Fest seemed to jack the promotion into full gear. You had to feel pretty good about yourself.
Yeah, it was a good bounce back, although I felt a little hosed. I think some tension grew with me and Josh because I thought maybe he knew about the Flash thing, and I felt like they really kind of jobbed out Lone Star. He just won the title, and they made him look like a goof, and they devalued the world title. And then, Josh filled me in later that he wasn't really in on the whole thing, and that Matt had kind of gotten to Flash. I was really pissed off, and things were bad with me and Matt at this point. We were talking, but it was this like underlying tension where neither of us wanted to really get into it, but it was there, and I think it was tough for everyone else to kind of deal with. But things were quickly starting to come to a head. So that's why, as Matt became more distant, we started to really bring Jim into the loop, and we decided to promote him to kind of co-booker, and he really jumped right in. He became a major driving force, and honestly, I don't know if you guys agree, I think he helped save the promotion, because I don't know how much longer it would have went on. Josh was still in this weird mindset. Your guys were still kind of iffy. Matt, who knew where his head was? And Jim really stepped up, took over the reins, and really became brought a new breath of fresh air creatively.
Yeah, I have to completely agree. He was essential to it moving forward.
Yeah, to me, this is what starts the Jim era now with Winter War.
All right, now the next show, as we leave 1994 and enter 1995, is Winter War, which again took place in February at the indoor Lakeside Arena. Pretty much the same announcers. Mm-hmm. We have two. Finally, though, JR, you kind of give your referee some time off. Referee Rich is still there, but another referee kind of helps you out. Another controversial figure in the company's history, a guy by the name of Matt Tibiggins. Who was this guy?
Well, again, we had to give in to Matt a little bit, kind of pick our battles. He wanted to bring a new referee in. This guy, Matt Tibiggins, former wrestler, wore a bandana, kind of had a chip on his shoulder. You could tell he wanted to still be in the ring, but he just wasn't the best wrestler, so he turned into a referee. And he'd kind of like fight the wrestlers and had a real attitude. No one really cared for him. You can say that about a lot of Matt's guys, I guess.
Yeah, it was definitely trying to play up the ref as a character of his own, you know what I mean? It was kind of an odd decision.
And it was just like, no one really played along with it. So
yeah,
it was
exactly.
Just like, he was just doing it on his own. Yeah, it was
He did
odd.
not have buy-in from anybody else on this.
No, not at all. It was weird.
So let's talk about Winter War. The first match Sexy Steve, who is still your Intercontinental Champion, taking on a newcomer, a guy by the name of Max Flyer. I'm not sure. Is this one of Justin? I believe this is one of your guys, Max
No,
Flyer?
one of Matt's boys. And one of his better guys. This guy was a young kid, very unassuming, had great talent, was quiet backstage, and early on, in the first match of his WCF career, puts on the greatest match in WCF history. Easy 5-star affair. These two guys go all out. We have a couple of false finishes in there, and then Sexy Steve finally gets a roll up and retains the title. Mac Truck was active at ringside, and Josh, Sexy Steve here is to me is when he really cemented himself as a major star.
Oh yeah, this match, I agree with you. This clearly goes down as probably the best match. And it kind of we knew he was building up, but it just kind of came out of nowhere. And I got to give a lot of the credit a little bit with Max Flyer here. He just seemed like a guy that rolled with it. Because like you mentioned, the false finishes, that was all Steve. That was all weird, last minute decisions to not end the match here, even though he was supposed to have a fall. So that was all Steve. And Max Flyer just rolled with it, even though it wasn't, missing the marks that we were supposed to be hitting there.
Right. Steve really showing himself as a ring general at this point, stepping up as a veteran. And like you said, he felt how hot that match was, how well it was going. He didn't want it to end prematurely. He thought they could get more out of it. And I'm glad he did, because it ended up being a hell of a contest.
I'm amazed, and it's I believe the rumors of a possible WCF DVD coming out soon. I believe this is definitely going to be on one of the extras.
I'm sure.
So for those that have never seen it, one of the most incredible matches you'll ever see, even for a backyard wrestling promotion. Incredible match. And Sexy Steve retains his WCF title, Intercontinental title. Van Burton's in our next match, and best of 3 falls. Very interesting. It's a new guy. A guy by the name of Green Hornet. Obviously coming off a DC character, comic character. Was this an expensive guy because of the copyright? How did this guy come about?
No, one of Matt's guys. He footed the bill. He wanted to bring this guy in. He was from the Orient, came in, martial artist, and this is another great match. Went to early on, shaping up to be one of our best shows in-ring wise. These two put on a great 3-fall, best of 3-fall match. They split the first 2 falls. Hornet wins the final, gets a big win in his debut. And, Matt, for all his shenanigans backstage, he could have a good eye for talent here and there. And Green Hornet and Max Flyer were 2 young guys he brought in and really turned WCF into more of an athletic showcase at this point.
Justin, did you feel that the matches indoors were a little bit better in-ring than the matches outdoors? Would you see that as time would progress?
No, I think it was more of a development of character and ability. I thought guys getting more comfortable. The indoor arena gave a better feel camera-wise because the camera was kind of tight on the ring, and I think maybe that adds to it. The sound was better. Outside, we lose some sound, and I don't think it had much to do with the wrestling being indoors. I think it was just the presentation maybe was tighter.
Okay. Next up,
that ring inside was unforgiving, though. I'm sure Josh can attest to that. Very hard to wrestle on.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Black Magic, your tag team champions. I believe they're still the tag team champions at this point.
Yes, they defend here against the Marco brothers.
Returning.
Yeah.
They've been off the last couple shows.
Yep. Still stupid as ever.
Yep, and they do not win the titles back.
Tony's still being a dick.
Were they kind of on your last nerve? Were you ready to just cut them loose at this point?
It was tough because the crowds kind of liked them and they were kind of unique and different, so it was hard to just say we wanted to dump them, but Tony just wasn't fun to deal with.
But the problem was, once you got past a couple of tag teams, it really thinned out a lot. It just dropped off as far as talent-wise goes.
Especially with Thunder still out of the picture.
Yeah.
Next up, Vince Rotten, a guy we talked about way back in the beginning, defeated a gentleman called the Brawler. Kind of pretty basic character, I take it?
Yeah, not much ability, but he had heart.
Okay. Flash, actually, I guess it was a tournament. You guys had a tournament booked for the world title?
Well, what we did was, it was kind of a mini tournament. Lone Star was still the champion, but we had a match, almost like WrestleMania 10 set up, where he had a match to determine who would face the champion, but Lone Star also had to wrestle a match. So he still had the belt, but it was kind of a unique way to do things.
Okay. So Flash wanted his title shot back, and he defeated an earlier guy we discussed, a guy by the name of Red Carrot, to get to the finals. Meanwhile, Lone Star had to wrestle a match as well. Just brings chills down my spine.
He was a complete package. Definitely, he was up there with Sexy Steve as one of the best overall presented characters.
Yes. He would defeat, I guess, some jobber by the name of Ron Alden.
I don't know why we decided not to use. I mean, look at the guys missing from this card. I mean, MVP's not there. He could have laid down for flat. I mean, it's odd choices to use Red Carrot and Ron Alden. Two of Matt's guys that were hanging on. I think it was, again, just a favor to Matt because, none of his guys were involved for the title usually. So, Carrot and Alden just thrown in there to be filler.
So our main event, pretty hyped up.
I think Andy was a big Ron Alden guy.
Yes.
I think he has a Ron Alden T-shirt. I think he should have produced the first Ron Alden DVD. So here you go, guys.
Okay.
Huge main event. One thing I got to say about these WCF cards, you guys really do pump the main events up to no end. And a great match here. Obviously, a lot of tension going back to Holiday Slam Fest. Lone Star taking on Flash after Flash attacked him after helping him win the title at Holiday Slam Fest. And now Flash with the help of Jolter, so you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. And Flash regains the WCF Heavyweight Championship. Your first two-time champion.
And almost like a reboot. It took us a few shows to get there, but now we're back to where we wanted to be. Flash as champion. After the match, though, Doc Holliday and Flash reunite and beat up Jolter. So that short-lived. It was kind of like the used Jolter. So maybe that's kind of what the thought process with Flash was, knowing he could get this back at the end. So the union is short-lived, and you could tell already we're, again, building for a Flash-Jolter title rematch.
Okay.
Can I ask a quick question, though?
Sure can.
And it's just a pointless detail, but was this the event where Van Burton's song was a Nirvana song? This where he changed his song the first time?
No, I think he still had Christie Road here. I think it's the next show where he changes.
Oh, man. Okay. Such a mess.
Flash had changed, I think, by this point, though. I don't think he has the old All-Star song. I think this is where he changed to some random screaming song. So,
Sweet.
All right, so as you're heading out of this, things are looking really good for you guys. Working on some other vignettes. How were production values progressing as you were, getting some capital and some revenues from the shows and the house shows? How was the production values going along with some other skits, other vignettes you were working on?
I thought well. We had some unique characters coming in. This is where we started to, get to know Andy, and one of his main guys that he brought along with him was this guy, the Tower of Terror. We filmed some awesome vignettes with him. And, just fun stuff we had going on. Lone Star visited an old folks' home. He visited a hospital, and he kind of snapped. And we had this building feud between Sexy Steve and Radmaster Jay through these different vignettes. And we were really trying to produce some extra programming, not just each pay-per-view and traveling on the circuit for the house shows.
All right, Andy. I haven't. You've kind of been putting your comments in, but it's time to finally bring you to the fore here. When did you start first seeing WCF, and then when did you first start getting participating in some capacity, whether it be in the ring or backstage? When did you start getting interested in joining the promotion?
Well, I think it was around '94. I stumbled upon the tapes in the underground backyard wrestling
Scene.
Yes, thank you. And I got in contact with Justin, told him I was a fan, told him you could use me for anything, just let me know. And I had a couple of guys that I knew who wanted to break into the wrestling business, and brought them along, and just told Justin, let me know how I can help out. I don't need to be a major creative force yet, or ever even really. I just want to be involved.
It was good just to have another guy to talk to too, because Andy and I were both on the track team together, so we'd spent a lot of time with the meets, kind of coming up with ideas, and just having a fresh voice really helps, especially with Matt kind of mentally checking out. And one other thing, I guess Scott will get to in a moment, was Josh again, but. Jim stepping up, bringing some fresh thoughts, and Andy kind of this outside perspective. He hadn't been through the backstage wars, wasn't privy to all this stuff. He didn't really know Matt, so he kind of had an innocent, fresh view of things, and I thought it was really good to add him into the mix.
I think that's a good way to put it. It was an exciting time, kind of like the impression I got is you had the feeling you could put all this bad blood behind you, and we kind of spread the power around. There would be no more of these struggles.
Right, and I think this was easily our peak coming up. These next couple of shows, I thought, before things went downhill. And I think adding Jim and Andy to the creative team really helped that.
Okay. But once again, when something good is going on, something bad ends up, or as you have a peak.
Every moment of happiness comes a grain of salt.
A grain of salt. Josh, it turned out that you walked away again. You walked away from WCF again. What happened this time?
Well, I think the problem with me is that it's hard for me to settle on one project at a time. And at this point, starting to become more involved in the rock and roll. Also, I guess, theater, other theatrical and dramatic productions. Did a lot of random independent television series, pilots that never got picked up. And I just kind of had lost the interest in writing for wrestling at that point.
And now here we are again. All the titles on Josh's guys.
All the titles.
He leaves, except for the tag. He leaves, and now we're hosed again because our world champion, we just put the belt back on Flash, and he walks out again. Loyalty to Josh. Sexy Steve, gone. So now we have 2 titles again. We're scrambling. We had all these good feelings heading into March Madness. And in a way, it sucked, but in a way, it helped because we all rallied. And everyone kind of got together and was like, you know what? Screw this. He's gone. His guys are gone. Let's go. Let's turn this thing around. We brought in Andy and his guys. Jim
screw this or screw Josh?
Screw everything. And you. We're not very happy. So,
of course.
So we decided, though, to really kind of use it to rally us and really turn things around. And again, bringing Andy and Jim and their guys in and really stepping things up, we decided to go in a totally new direction for once. We were getting away from Jolter, getting away from Flash, and really wanted to put a new top face on the promotion. And that was the goal going into the March Madness tournament.
Yeah, it was almost like a break from that first era of the WCF.
It was. If you had to split the dynasties in half, this was like a whole new part 2.
Okay. So March Madness took place in April of 1995, back outside of the outside Lakeside Arena. We had your same 4 announcers, although we added an announcer. The 7th president of the United States joined us. Wow, you were getting.
No, he thinks he was. He thinks he was the president.
Here. What was he? Stonewall. That's it. Stonewall Andrew Jackson joined the announce team.
No, it wasn't Stonewall. Stonewall Jackson was another guy, wasn't he? One of the Confederate.
Well,
he
either way.
Civil War.
Old Ironsides?
Old Ironsides, whatever. Anyway,
old
he's
molasses,
an announcer. He went from being president to being an announcer, whatever. Your referees are the same. So you kind of retconned here.
Yes.
And decided to put a tournament together.
Old Hickory was Andrew Jackson.
Old Hickory, thank you. Old Hickory, there we go.
A stupid nickname.
And so you decided to kind of reboot here and put together a tournament.
Yes. Well, we have the vacant world title. So we picked 8 guys, threw them in a hat, seeded them, and then we didn't really understand tournaments, I don't think, back in 1995 because we seeded these guys, but the number 1 seed and the number 2 seed were in the same bracket, and number 3 and number 4 were. So it was kind of odd that the 1 seed and the 2 seed faced off in the second round. So I don't think we really understood how these things worked.
Okay. All right. So quarterfinal matchups. The first one, Mack Truck.
Yes.
Obviously starting to gain some juice now, correct?
Yeah. Well, Jim in power. Mack Truck was his main guy. He loved the legend of Mack Truck, former wrestler turned manager, got himself into shape, kind of cleaned himself up, and a guy that we thought could really become a top guy. He could, he could work well for a big man, so we thought he had the cachet to really carry this tournament. So that's how Mack Truck got back in the picture.
Okay, and he defeated Max Flyer with the DDT. Lone Star, the former champion, defeated the Brawler to move on. MVP was in the next match, and he took on a guy. You just mentioned him, Justin, and Andy, one of your charges that you brought into the promotion. A gentleman by the name of Tower of Terror. Tell us about him.
Yeah, he's kind of a raw talent we discovered. He had a really good look, though, kind of new, kind of something that this federation hadn't seen before. And he got a pretty good push right off the bat, I'll say that.
Well, I heard, Tower of Terror had some kind of a dark past, similar to the whole Ken Patera McDonald's thing. Apparently, he attacked a waitress at Cello's about 2 years earlier when he was working for a previous promotion. So he did have a record. Did that bother you bringing him into the WCF anyway?
I thought we had agreed we weren't going to bring that up.
Yeah, right?
Oh.
Jeez.
Well, apparently I was not. I was given a legal, legal.
Well, here's the thing, Scott.
So.
Tower of Terror. I don't think that was completely his fault. I think he was with some guys and got caught up. He was a really nice dude, and part of what we're trying to do is just bring in some nice dudes. And after the whole fiasco with Josh's guys and Matt going on, and his guys are getting phased out, and we just wanted to bring in some quality talent. And a Raw guy, did he have a weird past? Yes, but he was humble the whole time he was there. I can't say a bad word about him.
Okay.
But MVP lays down for him here. And I remember Jim backstage, a fan of MVP, wasn't one of his boys, but a fan of him. He was pissed that we had MVP job in the first round. Pissed.
Wow. I'm a little surprised, actually.
Well, it makes more sense why he was so mad when you get to our next match.
Yes. A newcomer to the Federation, guy by the name of QB, which to me seems like it kind of fits with MVP. QB takes on the Demolisher by disqualification.
All right, Demolisher, another one of Andy's guys that he found. QB was a favor to Richard Kimball, the president of WCF, one of his family friends or something. This guy was just atrocious in the ring. He had this weird moveset. He used the heavy artillery. Where he'd jump in the air and smash down on people, and he'd fucking pick wedgies as he was doing suplexes and all this other stuff. And just an odd talent. And, President
Talent
Kimball
is the wrong word. But...
Yes, lack of talent. President Kimball pulls a power play and makes us have him go over Demolisher. Demolisher's like twice this guy's size and much better in the ring. And, Jim was arguing, fighting big time to have MVP beat Demolisher in advance and let QB drop to the Tower of Terror. But QB advances here. Doc Holliday, who's with Demolisher, interferes. And QB advances, which is just a joke.
Yeah, again, it was an odd seating decision.
So your semifinals, Mack Truck versus Lone Star. That's a big match. Probably should have been a final. Maybe you guys did see this thing wrong. And the Tower of Terror taking on QB. We'll get to them in a minute.
Two things we need to mention quickly here. Halfway through the show, at this point already, I think it's after the third match, Josh makes his presence known, and I'm going to let him explain what he was doing, but all of a sudden he sends Sunglass Joe careening into the arena, jumps into the commentary booth, and just starts talking like he's been there all along. And backstage, Josh met with us, made amends, and asked to get back into the promotion during the show. And we ended up actually, he had some of his guys with him that we'd insert, as you'll see. Josh, what the hell happened here?
Well, I couldn't stay away from it for that long. It was just really, hard. Especially, it's what people have to remember is during those times that I was leaving, it's not that we weren't in contact with each other. I was very much aware of what was going on, what the plans. You even consulted me a couple times, just like, oh, here's what, and things like that. So the day of the show, I knew it was happening, and I just kept kind of like driving by or on my bike past the venue, and I just, hearing all the sounds and everything, I just couldn't stay away. So, I mean, and obviously Sunglass Joe, he was kind of a funny dude. I figured like it would be it wouldn't be so bad to send him in just to do some commentary booth stuff. It would have been better than sending in one of my actual guys and interrupting a match, for instance. That would have been poor taste. So
right, and it was a great
stay away.
It was a great return. I mean, it was cool. All of a sudden, Sunglass Joe pops out of nowhere, and it really adds to the excitement of the show.
Yeah, probably screwed you guys up a lot, but
it was worth it. It was worth it to get some of the talent back in.
It was almost like an invasion of sorts. Maybe,
yeah, it was fun.
We
made amends quickly because we knew that he'd be back. we didn't really think he'd stay away.
So, all right. So
we acted tough, but
we take a break from the tournament. Rapmaster J wins the Intercontinental Championship. Obviously, it was vacant, I imagine, going into this match, of course.
No, we had put the title on this guy, Blackfire. Again, when Sexy Steve left, we had to get the IC title on someone. Blackfire, I don't know. I forget if he actually defeated Sexy Steve or we just kind of gave him the belt. Another one of Matt's guys, just there to put over Rapmaster J.
Okay, so Rapmaster J, who has kind of paid his dues through these first few shows in WCF lore, is your new Intercontinental Champion. All right, semifinals. Now, this is where I start to really get a little rankled as a fan at some of the booking decisions here. Lone Star, who easily should have gotten the world title back, ends up losing here to Mack Truck by disqualification. So he's in the finals. He takes on Andy's upstart guy, Tower of Terror, defeats QB by ref stoppage. What happened here?
QB just Tower of Terror attacked the knee, and Doc Holliday attacked the knee, and QB just couldn't continue. I think it was part of Richard Kimball again, just wanted QB to get out of here without losing. It was, I don't know, a lot of nepotism going on with Richard Kimball. Just to get quickly back to Mack Truck Lone Star, again, the erratic Matt, he ends up instructing Jimmy Jones to talk like a pirate for half of the match. I don't know if he was trying to get a new character over. It's really weird. He goes to start talking like a pirate, and then he turns back and just starts talking normal. It's odd stuff, man. Matt was
no explanation.
No explanation. Yeah. Matt was in a weird spot.
Well, I'm sure me coming back didn't help.
No, you're right. He was probably really sent him over the edge. He probably thought he was finally rid of you.
Exactly. I was just going to say that.
So we have the final set. Mack Truck will take on Tower of Terror in the finals for the WCF heavyweight title. But we still have another title match to do. Black Magic, who pretty much had a stranglehold on the tag team titles, had held it for a while, lose it to this very unusual, to say the least, put together team of Van Burton and we thought deposed Jimmy Marco. Where did this team come from?
Well, it was supposed to be the Marco brothers finally getting the revenge to get the titles back on them to lead into WrestleFest. So Black Magic had kind of had their run. We wanted to have a false count anywhere. Matt, again, wigging out backstage. Tony was like his right-hand man. So Tony kind of takes things personally. He's pissed off that Josh's guys are back. Feels like he's being slighted. He walks out. He's like, I'm not feeling well. I can't compete. So now here we are. We got this tag title match. We're supposed to win the titles. Poor Jimmy doesn't know what the hell's going on. He's lost. We decided, you know what, Van Burton's here with Josh. Let's throw him in the ring. A good worker. He can adapt. And kind of it would be a unique team. We thought it would be really cool to put the belts on a unique mismatched team like that. Van Burton helps walk Jimmy through the match, carries him through. A wild brawl through the backyard. We had some blood. We had some diving off the roof and all this other crazy stuff. And Van Burton and Jimmy Marco win the tag titles.
Very interesting. Very interesting, to say the least. And then in the finals, Mack Truck. Finally, the guy who just kind of climbed up the ladder slowly but surely, and obviously a big example of the power that Jim now suddenly had backstage. Mm-hmm. As Mack Truck is your new WCF World Heavyweight Champion, defeating the Tower of Terror with
a good stiff match, too. These guys really lay into each other. And it also features the return of Sexy Steve. And now in a reversal of roles, he comes out and helps Mack Truck win a match. All these years that had been Mack Truck, and Sexy Steve basically turns face through this. He helps Mack Truck win the title, and they celebrate to go off the air. Josh, what was your thought in getting Steve back and turning him face?
Well, I felt like this was the time to do it. Like, we've already, we're basically starting off fresh here, mm-hmm. After, vacating and missing a lot of the house shows and just being completely out of the loop of this organization. I felt like that was the time to do it. Mack Truck was obviously going to be the future of this company, and I think this was the perfect point to introduce him. I wish he could have wrestled, but
well, he'd get back in there. But Andy, did you think Tower of Terror was this a good enough push for him? Do you think he deserved to win right off the bat, or do you think this was more than you would have expected?
No, I was definitely more than I was expecting at that point. But this was a nice, unique final. You guys have been concentrating so much on the technical wrestling, and then you come up with this stiff big man match. It was very nice.
Yeah, well, big Haas fans. I was excited to see it out there.
Yes,
a lot of fun too with Doc Holliday ringside with Sexy Steve, and they were kind of fighting while the match was going on, and it was good. It was good stuff.
Yeah, really pushing the extra outside the ring activity in this event when you had more people on hand.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Yep, it was good to have kind of a bigger crew involved.
So March Madness ends. It seemed like a pretty good show. It seemed like you had a lot of good.
It was a good show. It was a good bounce back.
Weather was nice outdoor venue.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're pumped up. You have a show. You had a show ready before WrestleFest 2. It was called Summer Blast, but somehow it never materialized. What happened there? Was there some type of issue, legal issues with the arena? What happened there?
All right, a lot of stuff going on at this point. What happens is Matt is pretty much MIA now. So he leaves at the March Madness, and we're barely hearing from him. I'm not talking to him like I used to. It pretty much just goes radio silent. So we don't even know if he's still involved, if his guys are involved. We can't get a hold of anyone, but we decided to press on and keep plugging and promoting his guys. So we started up this weekend show during this lull known as Crunch Hour, hosted by Bob McClanahan and Phony Fun. Mm-hmm. It was filmed in studio, and it was just like primetime wrestling, only there weren't any matches. So it was a lot of skits, a lot of interviews, plugging the pay-per-view, trivia, just all kind of like a potpourri show. And the build for Summer Blast was just nonstop. Plugging the matches, plugging the card, getting into all the feuds. This went across 5 weeks of television with 5 straight Crunch Hours. And then the news came. We couldn't get a hold of Matt. His guys were basically striking on us. We had built up this entire card. The arena wanted to know what was going to happen if we were going to have these guys involved. Jolter was a major star draw. Was supposed to be there. And we just couldn't get a deal done. We had to cancel the pay-per-view, and we thought we were in real trouble. Summer Blast had so much build, and we thought we were peaking off March Madness. And to have to cancel a show like that, just a crushing blow. Jim was heartbroken. I remember many nights staying up late with him, basically tears in his eyes almost. He had put so much sweat and effort into Summer Blast. His guy, Mac Truck, was champion. It felt like he was tanking the company in a way. He wasn't, but it felt like it was floundering under him. So Jim was taking it hard, man. He was stressed. And we decided to, you know what? Just like we had with Josh, basically an FU, we said, F you, Matt, F your guys. We're going to move on. And we created another weekend show known as Weekend Warriors. And to me, that is what gave the bounce back to this promotion. I feel like Weekend Warriors really turned things around as far as putting out some competitive matches, some great matches, and just getting the fun back in the promotion, just getting out of all the politics that had weighed everything down. Josh, did you feel the same way at this time?
I really did. I thought that the Weekend Warriors were, at that point, obviously Matt was doing exactly what I had been doing, and to actually experience that on the other end was not so fun. So I really think that trying to go forward, and especially we've completely at this point changed the creative people making the decisions for the company at this point. Matt being out and having so much pull just kind of left room for Andy and Jim to really step up and to push their guys and to also collaborate a lot more than it was when Matt had a third of the say almost always. And I think you could really see it in the Weekend Warriors.
Okay. How much of a financial hit and maybe a popularity hit did you take, Justin, with the loss of Summer Blast? First of all, what were the? Do you remember the matches? What were the matches supposed to be?
There was supposed to be a big battle royal to determine the number one contender, which was going to be the hook of the show. We were supposed to debut a new character, the Dragon Warrior, so we had to push that back. I can't remember too many of the other matches. I do know if you go back and watch those Crunch Hours, you'll see the evolution of the card. But the battle royal was the main focus. We had all the heavy hitters in there: Jolter, Sexy Steve, Lone Star was in there, Tower of Terror, Dragon Warrior. So, a lot of big names involved in that battle royal. It was really supposed to be the centerpiece of that show.
Okay. Let's just go very quickly. There were 3 Weekend Warriors. The first one was in June. 4 results. Sexy Steve beat the Boss Man. Phony Fun wrestled? What was this about?
Well, we'll see. It was building to a mega match at WrestleFest.
Okay. He defeated Herbie with a move called the
Hooey Dooey.
The Hooey Dooey, yes. Mac Truck defended the WCF World title, defeated Lord James Brown. So you really took these shows seriously, Justin, to have title matches on these weekend shows.
That's what we wanted
really
to do.
Wanted to pump them up.
Yeah, we wanted unique matches, guys that had really been loyal to the company, and put some title matches in unique. Instead of always having to have a big feud behind a match, we just wanted to throw matches out there and deliver for the fans. Mac Truck and Lord James Brown had some history together. We thought this would be a cool match to put on, as well as the next match, right, which is one of my favorite kind of unsung matches.
Yes, the WCF Intercontinental title, Ratmaster Jay defeated Van Burton with the Kiss of Death. One of your favorites, you said?
Yes, great match.
Yeah.
Van Burton was just a solid worker. Ratmaster could hang. So,
the second Weekend Warriors took place the following month, I guess, continuing the build to Summer Blast, I suppose. 5 matches here. In fact, you have your first sponsorship, according to this. Looks like an employee from the retail outlet TJ Maxx actually was a referee.
Yes,
so
TJ Maxx.
That was actually very nice. So you got your first, you got a little sponsorship action.
TJ Maxx is a referee / personality kind of interviewer guy, and he was pretty good. He was entertaining, TJ Maxx.
Okay.
And we brought Capron back.
Yes, Capron is returned, so referee Rich gets the day off. What was your relationship with him at this time?
With Rich or Capron?
With referee Rich and Richard Kimball, and what was that?
Richard Kimball were fending off his decisions. He was still being very overbearing. Everyone loved referee Rich. It was tough with these shows doing the ring without him. He was the heart and soul of WCF. Yeah, he won't never admit it because he's so quiet, but he was the heart of WCF.
Okay. 5 matches here. Vince Rotten took on Samuel the Giant with the powerbomb. Question for you, Josh. When you were on your second hiatus, did Samuel the Giant go back to France? What was he doing during his time off from WCF?
From what I had heard, he had gone back to his village in France, and just living the life, whatever they do there.
All right.
Losing wars.
Sunglass Joe defeated Man with No Name with a big time finishing hold called an eye poke. Who was the Man with No Name?
Just a jobber.
Okay. Mack Truck, another title defense. Wow, you really worked your champions hard.
Oh yeah.
Very impressed. Mack Truck beats the Slickster with the DDT to retain the heavyweight title. Ratmaster J beat Jack Doe.
Another jobber.
The kiss of death.
And Ratmaster J was really gaining some cachet here in the WCF for a guy that was really starting to climb up the ladder and get involved in some major feuds.
What was your relationship with MVP at this time?
Oh, just a loyal guy. You know, a guy we knew we could move up the card if we needed to, and a guy that just would do whatever we asked of him.
Okay. And then MVP defeated Lightning in a Falls Count Anywhere match. Wow, very good. Good little main event there, a little sachet. So I take it Thunder never healed from the injury, huh?
He does. He'll be back at our next show. But
Okay.
Thunder, it took a while to come back for that bicep injury. The third Weekend Warriors we can hold off on, Scott, because that actually occurred later in the year. So.
Okay. All right. So we'll move. We'll continue on. All right. So we finally get to your second big show, and that is, of course, WrestleFest 2. What were your thoughts, Justin, going into this show? Because obviously 1995 had been a very tumultuous year in WCF history. Obviously, you had a great. It started a little shaky, then you had a really great show. Then you had some issues with with Matt and issues with Josh. And stuff was up and down, but you had some good shows, some bad shows. Going into WrestleFest 2, which needed to be big, of course, what were you feeling?
A lot of issues. Josh, and everything was okay with him. Andy was in the good standing. Jim still working hard. Rich, everything was going well. Matt, we didn't hear from. We had guys lined up from him that he had worked out before he kind of disappeared. So we took a leap of faith. We said, Matt's always been there. His heart's always been with WCF. We're going to go through with the card as planned and hope he shows up. Day of the show, Matt's there. All his guys are there. Breathe a big sigh of relief. We felt good. We thought we had a good mix of guys. We had a good card lined up. And it really felt like this was another second chance to turn things around.
Did he grow his hair a little bit? He was kind of getting a little bit of a mullet, or was that later on in the...
No, that was here. He kind of was going a little rogue, and you could tell he had... he was working through some personal stuff.
Oh, okay. I see. All right. So let's go. You have an unprecedented 6 announcers for this show.
Yes.
Including the return of Gino Typhoon. What had happened to him? Were there money issues during all this time? When did he come back?
He was working backstage stuff.
He was in the Typhoon position.
Yes, he was.
Yes, he was in the Typhoon position. But we have two debuts on the announce table. Erin the Brain. Who was that?
Just a close family friend. She was actually able to hook us up with some new equipment, so we decided to let her play a role. She did some camera work and commentated a match for us.
And a guy by the name of Rod the Bod.
Yes, former referee Jared Johnson kind of moved into the commentary booth, and he does the ring announcing here as well, and then commentates one of the matches.
Okay. All right, your referees, Referee Rich and the always controversial Matt Biggins. All right, now this first match, you talked about this gentleman earlier, and it seemed like he was becoming a major character, and you wanted to debut him earlier in the year. I have to say, next to Lone Star, this might be my favorite entrance theme in the history of WCF.
He had a good look, this guy.
Yep, the Dragon Warrior.
Yes.
Comes in and ends the reign of Ratmaster J to become the new WCF Intercontinental Champion.
Great opener.
I love this match. One of my favorites. Very good. Josh, your thoughts on this opener?
Well, it was obviously Ratmaster J was a solid champion. So I thought it was a great opener. It was a great debut for Dragon Warrior, and to win over Ratmaster J, I thought really meant something.
Now, Justin, Josh seemed to be booking kind of the technical. Was he kind of more booking the technical matches? Andy was kind of booking more of the big Haas kind of powerhouse matches, and Jim kind of was booking. How was the layout of booking? Like, I haven't had a chance to ask you this. Andy, I'm sure you kind of, with guys like Tower of Terror, I'm sure you were working on more of the big Haas matches, and Josh handled kind of the more technical matches. Is that how you were working it backstage? Everyone had certain roles. They were in charge of certain types of matches. How did you do it? I hadn't had a chance to ask you this yet tonight. How did you delegate the booking in terms of how matches would go?
I would say Matt was more the actual technical guy. Josh was more like the aerial, high-flying, exciting guy. Kind of booking those guys. He was in charge of that. Matt was kind of in charge of the technical, scientific guys. Andy definitely was kind of the Haas brigade. Jim was kind of like the he had a lot of the guys that were unique characters that didn't really have a style. And I'd say my guys had like a hybrid style. They were kind of like, if I had to compare it to a wrestler, maybe like Edge, a guy who kind of worked all multi-styles. Those were the wrestlers I focused on, the guys that could kind of be hybrids. And I thought my guys were the best at working well with the myriad of other guys. My guys could work big, they could work fast with Josh, they could work scientific with Matt, or work crazy with Jim if they needed to. So I thought I had the most versatile, and but not as refined, you know. So if you look at like Mario Brothers 2, you know, I could kind of do it all, but I wasn't as specialized as some of the other characters out there.
I don't think so.
No.
Now, how did you get Dragon Warrior in? I heard he did not come cheap. I heard he was a little more expensive than some of the
That was
other
Jim's guy. He recruited him heavy out of Japan. He was selling. I mean, we had no email or anything. He was tape trading with guys out there, and he was sending telegrams. And I don't know. He brought the guy in, and it just worked. It clicked.
So he now is, look at this, comes right in, debut match, and is your WCF Intercontinental Champion, ending the reign of Rapmaster J. How was he feeling at this point? I mean, he really solidified that title, gave it some stability. I'm sure it was tough for him to give the title up.
I think it was bittersweet. I mean, I think he wanted to do what was right, so I think he was okay with it. He had a good run, and he knew that he was still an important part of the promotion.
Okay. Next match, QB, the guy you talked about, had his knee taken out at March Madness. Another newcomer.
I wish it was taken out permanently.
Taking on someone apparently, I guess, worked for, I don't know, some coffee company. Someone by the name of Java Man. Who was Java Man?
Well, we've seen him before. Remember, he was a brief IC title run.
He won the title at Royal Rumble.
Oh, I thought that was somebody. I thought that was another. Was that what his actual name was? Java Man? I was thinking.
Yeah, it was Java Man at the time, and then I think.
Okay, that's why I didn't. Okay, because
It's like Samuel.
It was like when Ultimo Dragon became Ultimate Dragon. You know, just kind of a slight change.
Okay, all right, and apparently you really were pumping up this next match, which was a big announcer versus announcer battle. It's kind of like Harvey Whippleman, Howard Finkel levels here. Sunglass Joe taking on Phony Fun. What happened here?
I'm gonna let Josh explain this one.
I don't remember how the feud started to begin with, but this feud got really ugly. There was a lot of accusations flown around. They really fought a lot during the crunch hours. There was some footage of, I believe, who was it? Who was that really damning evidence? It
was Sunglass Joe aired a video alleging that Phony Fun had pushed his mother. But that's because Phony Fun accused Sunglass Joe pushing his mother. And then Sunglass Joe brought the footage.
Now, the footage looked really good, though it did look like it could have been possibly faked. But it ended up leading up to this match here, which was kind of ridiculous, I would say. Neither one of these guys were really at all skilled in any sort of physical activity whatsoever.
No, and it was kind of sad to see them feuding. They had been such good friends early on, but they end up teaming up the end and running off referee Rich and kind of becoming friends again. So it just kind of a
bunch of clowns.
Yeah, it was. It was a comedy match. That was a comedy match for sure.
Okay, we actually get we have a pair of rematches from the first WrestleFest, and this is one of them. A rematch for the WCF Tag Team Championships. Once again, the Marco Brothers and Thunder and Lightning collide in the ring again. Different year, same result. Thunder and Lightning win back their WCF Tag Team titles. So a long 1-year odyssey for Thunder, who had to rehab that. What was it? A triceps injury, I believe you said.
Bicep. Yeah.
Bicep injury, and has come back, and once again, Thunder and Lightning, the new tag team champions.
And back to, by the way, if you notice, the Marco brothers, Van Burton pushed out of here. Matt, shows up. Tony's with him, pisses off everyone. Tony shows up again.
He didn't take it very well.
No,
Van Burton. No.
Yeah, no, not at all. The poor kid. I mean, he had worked so hard. He carried Jimmy in that great false count anywhere. Had a good push on the Weekend Warriors and crunch hours, and he gets shafted here. So the Marcos go out, and we made them job. Thunder and Lightning put the belts back on them where they belong.
Okay. Next up, more juice from the March Madness tournament. Sexy Steve and Lone Star. Well, you guys really loaded this card up. I'm very impressed. And Lone Star had a job again. Well, not really job. He lost by disqualification.
I think Mac Truck got involved and drew the DQ, or something happened with it. Lone Star used a chair. I forget. It broke down pretty bad, and Matt DeBiggins got involved or some nonsense. And it was a good match with a really bad ending. But like you said, a lot of star power here.
This next match is one that I was looking forward to, and MVP gets back the Intercontinental Championship, defeating Green Hornet the WCF International title. My apologies. Did not read that. A new title debut. My apologies.
Vacated title. Neither guy was a champion. These two were chosen to fight. Two of the mid-card stalwarts, and MVP gets another run with a mid-card title. A very good match here.
My question to you, Justin, with the roster kind of always seeming to be in flux, why bring in another belt?
We feel like we're beefing up now. Andy had brought in some more guys. Jim had found some talent. We thought Matt was back, so we said, let's build a new title in here. And a guy like MVP, it was almost like a personal achievement for him. He deserved it.
Okay, so MVP is the WCF International Champion. Next up, Flash is back. This time taking on Vince Rotten in a Falls Count Anywhere match. Josh, Flash never seemed to be the kind of guy that would get into very hardcore weapons type matches. What got him to want to wrestle Vince Rotten in this match?
Well, I think that at this point, he just wanted to be involved, really. If you think about his history so far with this company, not been doing so well. Constantly like winning titles and vacating and saying erratic stuff. I really think that he just wanted to prove himself and that he was, going to put 100% or more into what he was doing.
And he was a surprise replacement here. Vince Rotten was supposed to face somebody else. I can't remember who in this match. And Flash came out. It was a nice pop for the fans. Kind of a good surprise treat to see Flash back, as always. He's kind of like the lost son of WCF. I feel like he was always a favorite, a guy we wanted to push, and he'd always just had these kind of issues where he'd just vanish. And, he was loyal to Josh, but he never came right back, or he kind of had to ease his way back in, and then by the time he built himself back up, he kind of ran afoul again. And just a guy, if I had one regret with WCF, well, I have a few, but one would be that Flash didn't really break out as much as we thought he could have. A guy who could have really carried things.
Is the other one QB?
That was a personal favor, I guess.
All right.
The master of the ass pick suplex.
And in the main event for the WCF Heavyweight Championship, Jolter wins the heavyweight title. Can't believe that. Defeated Mack Truck, although isn't there some type of infamous technical problem at the end of this match?
A lot going on here. Here's the issue. Mack Truck. All right, so Matt comes back with Jolter, and, it was kind of the agreement after we screwed him WrestleFest 1 that Jolter could get kind of the feel-good moment. We had hoped he'd beat Flash here to kind of cap that story. Flash was gone. Mack Truck hastily kind of turned heel here. Didn't really make sense because he was really getting over with the fans, so we turned him heel quickly. Ill-advised. Jolter hits the DDT. The ref counts 1, 2, and in kind of a serendipitous moment, the tape dies, or tape ends, and we missed the 3 count. So we had a switch tape, and we kind of refilmed the celebration. But it kind of gave us a little bit of an out, Scott. We'll get to that in a minute. So the show ends, and now all during the show, there was a lot of sniping, and you could feel the tension heavy in the air. As good of a show as it turned out on air. Behind the scenes, I was venting about Matt. I'm sure Matt was venting about me. We had a lot going on, and we could feel like this was it for Matt. You could just tell it was in the air. So as Matt was in the ring in the main event, we were able to book it downstairs into the backstage, and we actually rummaged through his stuff. We took he had a lot of the wardrobe with him, and we actually took a lot of it and we took the music tapes and we hid them. And when he left, I don't know if he didn't realize or didn't notice till he got home or whatever, that he didn't have the stuff. But we just had a feeling. It was very serendipitous on many levels that he wasn't coming back, and he never did. This was it. Matt's guys left with him. Matt left, never came back to WCF. It was a sad ending for one of the founders, but I think it was something that had been building for a year. And he was gone, and we luckily took that stuff because it was a big part. The wardrobe and the music were a big part of the promotion at the time, so we needed to keep those. And I'm glad we were able to snag them.
Okay,
Josh, did you feel that tension in the air on that day?
Oh yeah, but I mean, asking me that is kind of pointless because I'd always been kind of feeling that tension, throughout the run since the first WrestleFest. So
it definitely came to a head there.
Yeah, without a doubt.
So in the span of 1 year, so much happened, but a member of the original Goldust trio of WCF bids farewell. So after WrestleFest 2, then. Were you happy? What were your thoughts now? Were you feeling confident that there was a future? Did WrestleFest 2 go off the way you thought it would?
Yeah, I thought it was good to get rid of Matt, honestly, at this point. And I thought we just needed to, again, get that restart that we tried to do at March Madness. And it felt like a new day. That air was finally lifted. Unfortunately, though, things were turning business-wise, and we were kind of on life support. We had a lot of good characters. We had a lot of good people involved. Time crunch was becoming an issue. Guys had other interests, and we were having a hard time booking events. And then the major blow would come. Shortly after, Andy stepped up big time with the booking, got more involved, and our lease was up at Lakeside Arena. We decided we needed a new look to go with this new era. He was able to get us into a family venue named Flanagan Hall. I thought it added a unique look, Andy. What was the thought process to get us there?
Yeah, as you said, it was... we just wanted to get a fresh start, I think. And, this new venue became available. It had a different look to it. It just seemed like a good idea.
What were some of the things that Flanagan Hall had hosted previously? Bingo, roller skating? What kind of things did Flanagan Hall usually do before it got into wrestling?
Mostly conventions, events, stuff like that.
Oh, I see. Okay.
It was definitely the first time we'd have wrestling there. I'll say that. And then, the locals were a little shocked to see it there. I'll say that.
They definitely were. I mean, one young fan even almost got into the ring and was trying to offer weapons in one of the matches. It was craziness.
Yeah, he was keen to get involved, but we couldn't get a waiver for him. So
right. Before we got to the event at Flanagan Hall, we had one more to finish up at the Lakeside Arena, and that was in March. And we were actually scheduled to have a second March Madness in early '96. So we had this third weekend Warriors, Scott, and we had a lot of qualifying matches for March Madness. Why don't you read through the card for us then?
Sure. This was in March of '96. The results: Dragon Warrior defeated MVP. Sexy Steve over Thunder. Mack Truck defeated Ratmaster Jay in a strap match with the DDT to retain his heavyweight title. Then, in one of my favorite moments in the history of WCF, Herbie, who was part of, I think they were Biker Dudes from Heck, right?
Yep.
It was Herbie?
Yep.
Got absolutely throttled by Lone Star. Just destroyed him, just for no reason whatsoever. That was awesome. And then Van Burton defeated Jimmy Marco, and Lightning defeated Vince Rotten. So there were your March Madness qualifying matches. So what? It was Dragon Warrior, Sexy Steve, Van Burton, and Lightning.
And yes, for the I'm sure there were going to be four other ones.
Right.
But again, March Madness unfortunately put on hold due to Lakeside Arena lease ending up and things is kind of in flux. So that's when we moved over to Flanagan Hall for Triple Threat.
Triple Threat, which would end up becoming what looks like the final WCF pay-per-view. Let's see. Let me open up the card here. Triple Threat took place in June of 1996 at Flanagan Hall. Old Hickory came back, Andrew Jackson, along with Phony Fun and Rob McClanahan, referee Richer refs. Small show. A Tower of Terror defeated Ratmaster Jay and the Brawler in a triple threat match, obviously. Andy, with the matches, I don't want to cause any stir here, but with the matches now, with Flanagan Hall now being the venue, did you feel like you were getting a little more power? You were maybe trying to push your guys now a little bit more to the forefront with Mac on? Maybe you wanted to give your guys kind of a chance to shine a little bit here?
Yeah, I think Tower of Terror wanted revenge for March Madness, which was his last appearance before this, I believe. And yeah, I think he made a pretty good showing, but obviously things didn't end very well for him that day.
Well, this was a weird card because we were very, very thin. Matt's guys are gone. Josh, again, had kind of stepped away, taking another break. So some of his guys are gone. So here we are. We have a very thin card. So what we did was to mix it up. We had a bunch of triple threat matches to determine title shots. So Tower of Terror defeats Ratmaster Brawler to earn a match with MVP for the international title. So MVP retains there. Lone Star beat QB and Dragon Warrior to earn a heavyweight title match. So, we were trying to mix things up a little bit. Dragon Warrior gets a rematch with Ratmaster, defeats him again. And then the main event, I think our final pay-per-view really goes out with a bang. Can you guys agree? The False Count Anywhere match, Mack Truck and Lone Star brawl all over Flanagan Hall. Of course, the salmonella attack with the dumping the garbage on Mack Truck and the chicken stuff all over him. And it was a good match. It was a strong finish.
Yeah, it's unique, definitely. It was not the first Falls Count Anywhere, but it was the first one where he really made use of that stipulation and
right.
Raged all over, got, foreign objects involved. It's very fun to watch, I think.
Plus,
Justin,
it introduced biological warfare. It's sorely been missing.
Yeah,
Justin,
definitely.
before you continue, just remind everyone how Mack Truck got the WCF title back after losing it at.
Correct. Yes, Scott. So Matt's guys leave. Jolter goes with him. Finally gets his world title, and he runs away like a bitch. So we decided to use the loophole we had. We had referee Rich with the footage provided to Richard Kimball, the president, and the footage was, of course, the camera cutting off. We could not prove that there was a 3 count, so Richard Kimball put the title back on Mack Truck and suspended Jolter and said he had something to do with the tape and all that stuff. So
one of the shadier moves of Richard Kimball's reign.
Yes, very shady. But it was necessary, a necessary shady maneuver.
So Mack Truck wins the title. Triple threat. Seemed like it went off pretty well. What did you think of the show? First of all, Justin, what did you think of the show, and what did you think of the new digs? Did it give you the juice that
yes,
you were
I liked the arena. Unfortunately, the card fell a little flat because the lack of depth, only having a handful of guys on hand to wrestle. It felt like we were trying to keep this thing alive, but you could tell it was fading. And then the big blow came. During the show, the word started to leak out, and after the show became official, Referee Rich handed in his resignation, said this is going to be my last one. It was a sad day. He was the heart of the promotion, and I feel like it really died that day officially when Rich left. He had been there since day one, always went about his business quietly, never really got involved in the politics, to set up the ring, did his business, refereed the matches, and to lose him was a sad day. And did you feel the same way outside Flanagan Hall when Rich broke the news?
Oh, definitely. As you said, he did everything quietly, and he definitely left quietly. He took everyone aside individually, let him know his heart wasn't in it. He couldn't do it anymore. It was tough.
I think it was really a sign of the times, though.
How so?
Well, the fact that now we had lost, that Matt was gone, I was kind of on the outside. None of my guys even appeared in this. And then for referee Rich to finally say that his heart isn't in it, I think really showed where everything was pointing, which was obviously what we're getting at.
And then we were supposed to have another guy join in, this guy Mike, big dude. Thought we'd have another Haas involved. He bailed last minute, bringing his guys with him. So we were really hurting. At this point, we're looking at Jim, me, and Andy trying to keep this thing alive. And as 96 rolled on, we kind of got veered off into other interests, and the promotion just kind of faded away in late 96. Then came February of 1997. I was talking to Jim one day, and we're like, I think we can give this thing one last chance. Wrestling on a whole was getting revitalized. It was becoming more popular. We thought maybe we could revamp things and get it going again. So I talked to Josh, talked to Andy, and we decided to give it a go. We produced 2 TV shows. One was Crunch Hour. One was Table Talk. Table Talk was hosted by Gino Typhoon, Bob McClanahan, and Andrew Jackson. Kind of a round table. We started pushing towards another card. I tried to think if it was going to be March Madness again. And we had a big title match set for Mack Truck versus Flash. It was going to be the big feud. And really looking forward to that card. I thought we had a lot of juice coming back. Then came the ill-fated Crunch Hour. We decided to go in kind of an extreme attitude. There was more vulgarity, more brawling, more anger, and you could tell things just weren't clicking. The character, Mac Truck, started acting like the Randy Savage. It was just weird stuff, and this new guy came in, the Ringmaster, ill-fated gym concept, and MVP was slated to get a big push. He was still hanging on. It really felt too little too late. We had other things cropping up on the Molosseum video that were pushing this to the back burner, and in February of 97, we decided to finally pull the plug and officially fold WCF. So it was a sad day. It was such a good run, and I feel like it had the potential to be so much more. It was just hard to get that commitment consistently out of everyone.
I would consider, Justin, that MVP would almost be like the Tommy Dreamer of WCF. Always there, could always rely on him. Was he the one that finally closed the door and locked it with the key?
He was there from beginning to end, and he is in the final segment of that last crunch hour. So he, yeah, I mean, he was the guy that never left. I never left. I was there the whole time, and so was Jim. But MVP was really the one wrestler that never took a day off, never took a week off, never left for any reason. He was there from beginning to end, and you can't say that about many others. So, yeah, I'd say when you look back, he is kind of the unwavering face. He wasn't the biggest star, wasn't the most over star, but he was the guy that never left.
Do you regret never giving him the world title?
No, I don't think he was a world champion.
Okay. Well, guys, obviously there were some other things Molosseum Video would do from there on out that would win awards and become some of the greatest television in history.
Give awards, take them home.
Give awards, take them home. That's another, obviously, topic for another day. Final thoughts. We'll start with Andy and work our way. Andy, your final thoughts on the legacy that was WCF.
I think it in a way, it kind of stands the test of time. It was unique in backyard federations and wanting to push the storylines more than anything. And it's just a shame that, every time a guy got a push and got a title, he walked out. It's just never came together. Never quite got the commitment from everyone at the same time. And it was a lot of fun, but it's too bad it wasn't more successful, I guess.
Josh?
Well, obviously, a lot of the blame of a lot of stuff what Andy just talked about lies with me. And I feel really bad that I essentially tanked an entire organization. Generally, if you go back to souring Matt on it and then also just leaving with all of my guys every time they had championships. So I feel really bad, but I look at what we did in a lot of some of the matches and some of the events, and I think that we, really could have made an impact on the backyard wrestling community if we had really been able to give it the commitment, and if people liked at that point backyard wrestling with stories.
And now to the patriarch, the guy who probably bled and sweated the most from beginning to end. Could you be proud, Justin, of the legacy that you helped create and cultivate from beginning to end in WCF? Yeah,
I'm proud of it. I thought we took this unique idea at a time when it wasn't all the rage, the time it wasn't well known. It was just us having a good time, and I thought we really worked hard. We put a lot of effort in. Sadly, a lot of the effort never came to fruition on tape because a lot of the late night talks with me and Jim and Josh and I playing a lot of things, and even Matt and Andy and I at the track meets talking things over. And I feel like we always did a lot of booking, a lot of plans, a lot of development. And then when it came time to deliver, we just weren't able to do it. And to me, that's the biggest missed opportunity. I think this could have really been something even more special than it was. I feel like we could have had a huge vault, a huge catalog. We just didn't have the ability to do it. We just weren't all in location enough to make it happen. So, I'm proud of it. I think it's real fun to go back and watch, and this was awesome to talk about. Unfortunately, I think it could have been even better, but, stuff happens. I don't think Josh should take the screw job too personally. I think in the end, we don't know where Matt's head would have been at that time anyway. He could have bailed and got weird anyway. So I think the fallout and the ensuing, memories we have make it worth it. That was our big watershed controversial moment. we predated Montreal by 3.5 years. So I think that's something to speak to, that we were kind of that mindset, positive or negative. But WCF lives on, man. It'll never go away. I'm still waiting for the reunion show, one night stand.
It may eventually happen. Of course, if we had more time and maybe we can do it as a addendum and put it on the DVD. There were some Where Are They Nows. I mentioned Lord James Brown earlier. Of course, sadly, we did lose a member of the WCF family. What was it? 5 years ago, I guess. 6 years ago.
2006. Yeah,
2006. Mike Filthball McKenna, the guy who was the lifeblood in the beginning in terms of the announce booth, passed away. We miss him greatly, and of course he was the voice in the beginning. He was the Gorilla Monsoon of the early years of WCF. So he is very sadly missed. Guys, this has been great. This has been an absolute treat. So much is going on in the history of Molosseum Video, but I think this was the one that I think people really wanted to know the backstory on. Because of all the great moments.
They demanded it. They
did demand it. And, we've obviously gone a little longer than we anticipated, but I don't think we had there was not one dull spot tonight. I think we got as much as we could out of all these great characters and all these great shows. It has been a privilege to come here and speak to the three of you. That'll do it for this special edition, the rise and fall of WCF. So the next time you're driving through a neighborhood somewhere and you see some moron throw his kid brother through a plate glass window or set a picnic table on fire or drown the cat in the pool, just remember, there were no promos and storylines to set that up. WCF would have made it better. For Justin Rosero, Josh Richer, Andrew Flanagan, I'm Scott Criscola. Keep wrestling.
The belt man is staying with me.
As the